Вітаю на шовковім полі, я полкового знамена. Дивлюсь на нього я востаннє, у нез'ясованій журбі. Всю кров мою зі скидання воно вібрало у собі.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великой страны.
Найкращий пастух баранячий хотар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
О, бля! Игорь!
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 318 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And also, we had a surprise appearance by none other than Pingu.
And of course, I hope y'all enjoyed that intro. And we're going to be reporting on the past 24 hours of the war in Ukraine here on day 318. And of course, y'all are probably not surprised to know this at all, but the Ukrainians were right. We were also right. There was no reason to trust anything about this unilateral ceasefire, and the Russians did not stop anything today, and in fact took a sizable amount of Soledar over the past 24 hours. We're going to be covering that here in a second, but before we do, I have to make sure to throw in the only merciless plug of the night, at least during the news segment. We'll probably plug it again during the question segment, but we are running Igor merch. Like y'all saw in the intro. So if y'all enjoyed the little Igor thing, and y'all are wondering, why is there Igor merch? That is the clip why. That's actually the first time you said it in the video too. So if you want to get something cool and also support this channel, and also remember Igor, make sure to go to enforcerstore.com. The link is also in the description below, and you can get yourself some limited edition Igor merch. And so with that, let's get on into the news, and we're going to be starting off in the Bachmut area today and going over to Deep State UA because something very interesting has happened here. If we look at this map, and I've backed it up over the past 3 days, we can actually see that the Russians have moved up a decent amount. It appears that somehow, some way, they've been able to pull together at least enough force and effort in this area to be able to finally push halfway into Soledar and halfway through the fields towards Krasnohora. They've also taken Bakhmut entirely, as you can see over the past 3 days. This is appearing to be the first time ever that the Russians have finally gotten to achieving their northern front objectives in the Bakhmut front that were supposed to be achieved 4 months ago. They're finally achieving them right now. They still do not control the chicken tender, the entirety of the chicken tender. They do, however, control the peak, which is right here. They do control that now. But beyond that, they do not control the entirety of the chicken tender. There has, over the past 3 days, not been a lot of movement here in the southern area of Bachmut, showing that the town itself is still holding fairly well, and the Ukrainian garrison there is being able to push back the Russians and fight them off. The Russians are not being able to enter the town all too well, but the north is somewhat concerning. Meanwhile, in the south, we have seen over the past 3 days that really no actual movement has been made. It still appears that the Ukrainians control the ridgeline down here and are leading to withering fire being put down on the Russians, which are keeping them at bay right before they enter Klishkivka village. This is still something to keep in mind, that it has been 4 months, and while this is going to start, I guess you could say, making the situation a little bit more serious for the Ukrainian defenders in Bachmut, buying 4 months of time on what was supposed to be a battle won, of course, in the matter of a few weeks, as Russian battle plans are always incredibly optimistic. It is good to know that it's taking them 4 months to even get this close to finally achieving their objectives. The other thing is that we're going to be skipping into our location unknowns because we actually have a number and a count for how many soldiers and how many tanks this cost them to advance from what we can tell from yesterday. And let's pull out a ruler here. So we're going to measure from this road right here to right there. So this is about the farthest they've moved in any urban area. So we're going to take out a... Oh, wait a minute, we moved. One second, we're going to go over here. I'm going to whip out a ruler, and we're going to measure from here to here. So they've moved about a kilometer across Soledar just today. And this kilometer move forward in this one area, and it's taking them weeks on end to finally achieve something of this size, we're going to go and check this out and see how much it cost them. So, Russian losses. Let's go to them and let's read them. 530 troops killed. That is down from yesterday. It was 810, but that is a little bit misleading, Matthew, for me to say it's down, because this is still so high that it's over the average number of soldiers killed by the British and the Americans every single day in the course of World War II. So it's still incredibly high. It's just that it's not apocalyptically high like it was yesterday. But here's where they really lost the numbers. 16 armored personnel carriers, 38 supply trucks, and 23 tanks. That is the highest number we've ever seen them lose in the past month and a half. So, if anything, a kilometer's advance in a small area, like the Soledar area, has cost them 23 tanks, or 2.5 BTGs worth of their tank forces completely depleted and destroyed. They're going to need new replacements to get those BTGs armor back up and running, or those BTGs will be without armor completely, and they'll be turned into a light infantry force with no tank support.
You're telling me that Russia took that small amount of ground that we saw on the map by going berserk and losing all of these vehicles?
Yes, just to take that small amount of ground, it cost them this much in tanks and armored personnel carriers, and also infantry.
Maybe the most expensive ground in Ukraine thus far.
Yes, this right here has the same property value as let's see, I think it's the Boardwalk Place on the Monopoly board. That is about as expensive as this area is. Yeah, Park Place. I think Boardwalk is like the one right next to it.
The most expensive, yeah.
Yeah. So it's about that much for them right now to push halfway through Soledar, just a kilometer. And also another interesting thing, they lost 5 MORSs. Where did they lose those? I don't really know, but they did lose them. They also lost another aircraft and another helicopter. So quite a decent amount of losses over the course of a single day to take an area that small. It's not that big because, once again, if y'all watch, when I go to the deep state map and zoom out onto the entirety of the front line as it is right now, and we back up, and then we advance to today, and let me see if I can remove some of the markers off the map so that way we can make it a little bit more clear. Let's see, is this it? Nope, that's the heat map. Dang, I don't ever know where to go. Here we go. So we can turn all these. Oh, look. Yeah, we can turn it off. All right. So here is a raw look at the front lines as they are today. And here's how they looked yesterday. And here's how they look today. Not really a big movement. You know, a lot of people always get that completely misskewed because people will look at an area of the Bachmut front that only spans from Soledar down to the Klishkivka area, and they'll see this happen. And they'll go, oh my god, the Ukrainians are going to lose! Oh my god! And then when you zoom out to the entire front line from end to end, and you actually look at that movement, it is so small, it may as well be unnoticeable. If you put this in front of someone on each day, they say, I can't see a difference. There's really no difference. It would take them 30 minutes to an hour to see that they took a small swath of ground in Soledar. So not that big of a deal. It's not like the Russians are entering the first days of the war again, and they're traveling several dozen kilometers a day towards Kyiv and Kharkiv, so not that bad. But still, it's going to become a little concerning because the Ukrainians had 2 supply lines and 2 major highways leading into Bachmut that they could use up to this point, and now the highway leading into Krasnohora may become a little bit too dangerous for supply trucks to use, so they'll have to all go down the single corridor into Bachmut from the CEASEFIRE area. But still, it's not that severe. If they lose the highway over here near CEASEFIRE, then they've practically lost the town. It'll only be a matter of time until Ukrainian forces have to withdraw from Bachmut and then go to more advantageous positions, most likely in Krasnohora and CEASEFIRE. But until then, they're holding Bachmut fairly well. They're inflicting a massive amount of losses, and it's certainly this point in the war, 23 tanks lost, considering that they've already lost 3,064 of them, is not really something that the Russians can just shrug off anymore. Those were valuable tanks that will never be replaced again, and if they ever do get replaced, it's going to be with tanks that are far less capable, far less advanced, and far less competent than anything they have on the front lines even now. And so still, pretty good to know that the Bachmut area is looking like a fortress. So we're going to be moving down into the acheived area, where we can see that a Ukrainian tank was firing at Russian positions somewhere in the area. You see the tank right there?
Давай по нашей команде. Давай.
We see it firing. And we hear someone clapping. Like it was a performance or something. Well done! And then it just blasts someone down the range. And then the little pingu pops up when the guy says, Egon! But anyways, with that, that's the end of that clip, and it's nice to see that the tank support is still there around the Bachmut area, and also it's good to see that the Ukrainians still have a large number of more modern Soviet-era tanks than the Russians do, because we see the Russians using T-62Ms pretty heavily now. In fact, it seems as though that is now the mainstay backbone of Russian armor. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are still using T-64BVs, T-72s, and T-84 Oplots. So it's good to know that they still have a large amount of their, I guess you could say, pre-war armor intact, and they're not having to replace it with anything yet. Hopefully, also, by the way, we didn't include this in the news today because it's just kind of a little bit of a thing, but The Minister of Defense for Germany said that they're going to be pushing Scholz to provide the Leopards. They said the Marder was the first step, the Leopards will be next. And so it seems as though the Minister of Defense for Germany is trying to set it up as to where the next aid package from Germany will include Leopard 2s. I can't really say that for certain now because that was just a statement on her end, and if it gets to Scholz, Scholz could shoot it down. We don't really know what he's going to do. But still, we may see that these tanks, although they are still better than what what the Russians have right now, we may see them get replaced here soon with Leopard 2s, at least some of them, and I think that'll be pretty cool looking, to say the least, and also very
It seems like that's the main holdup right now, sending like the main battle tanks, the more modern ones. I wonder what the main concern is coming from like Germany and the United States about not sending them. My guess would be it's OPSEC, but maybe they have a different reason.
I think it may be OPSEC in a way, and I think, let me pull this up real quick. Let's pull up the Leopard 2A5, and let me see who operates Leopard 2A5 variants around the world. So let's go down to the service map, because I know on Wikipedia you can always guarantee every single page has some kind of a service map somewhere saying who uses what. So here we go. So Chile, Canada, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Greece, Poland, the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Greenland. Greenland? In Indonesia, all use Leopard 2s. So a fairly large spread. So we know that there's a lot of export variants of the Leopard 2. In fact, the Swedes, in my opinion, have the coolest looking ones called the Stridsvagn 122, and it is a really cool looking variant of the Leopard 2. But moving on from that, a lot of people have export variants of the Leopard 2, so it's not that far out there to say that the Germans could easily either produce or find the export versions of the Leopard 2 to send to Ukraine, or they could just ask other foreign countries that have their Leopard 2s, if you send them theirs, we'll send you more of ours, and make a deal.
Although I think the only catch would be is Ukraine's currently in an active conflict with Russia and the other countries aren't, so they're not necessarily at a high risk of being captured and then, reverse engineered, I guess. But I don't know. There's no telling. I just really can't see the Russians really reverse engineering anything because they're so incompetent, but maybe that's a concern.
I think the actual concern, maybe, Matthew, is not really about reverse engineering. I think it more so is the fact that the Russians could capture one and use it intact. Because when you think about it, if they capture one and try and reverse engineer it, there's a lot of things that the Russians industrially just cannot do, like create advanced thermal sights, advanced night vision sights. They can create decent ones, but they can't create ones up to the spec of the West. They also cannot probably create 150. Well, they probably could create 155 millimeter guns or convert it into a 120 millimeter gun or something similar, but I'm trying to think here. I don't really know what the concern would be, honestly, when you really think about it, because it's not really like these tanks could be reverse engineered competently at all, because the Russians just lack the ability to do that. So I don't know what the reason would be.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if it's just merely ego. They simply don't want to send their better tank.
I don't know. Maybe that is the case. I guess we'll just have to see if it goes on. But talking about the Leopard 2, here's the Leopard 2A7, which is the most advanced one out there. But I don't know if this thing ever really got off the ground, because I haven't heard a lot about them. And we also don't really see a lot of them in service. But moving on from that, the most common one that we see is the Leopard 2A6 in German service, which we can see right here. Very good looking tank. The Germans always make a very good looking tank. And also, there's a couple of different variants that the Ukrainians could get if the Germans make a deal with a foreign country that has Leopard 2s, where they send theirs and then the Germans send them more export variants. The Polish have a variant of the Leopard 2 called the Leopard 2 PL, which just stands for Poland. You can actually see one right here, and it has a different frontal armor layout. This thing, also, this is a little bit interesting to point out. The Leopard 2s that have the angled front of the turret, where it's a very straight triangular angle. Also, it looks like we may have had some lag there for a second, Matthew, because I just noticed that our chart has a massive dip in it. I'm like, huh? But anyways, we can see that this thing has a very angular front to it. And the reason why it has an angular front is not because this is some kind of a, I guess you could say, composite armor. The front of this tank is still flat, like the Leopard 2A4. And let me see if I can find you all a picture of... Yeah, here we go. The front's still flat like this. This wedge-shaped armor addition on the front of it is literally just a sheet of steel that is shaped like that, and the theory behind it, and it actually does work, that if an APFSDS shell, which looks like a titanium dart, hits that angled front steel piece, it will create enough vibration in the shell that when it finally hits the actual composite armor underneath it, the shell won't even penetrate it, it will shatter on impact. Kind of like a piece of glass, because it'll be destabilized so much. So it's a very interesting theory. It also has been tested and proved to be usable and also effective. So pretty interesting to know. But if they get these, I feel like that will be a pretty big game changer. If they get Abrams, I feel like that'll be a pretty good big game changer. 2 tanks, however, I do not think are on the table for them to get. Will be the Challenger main battle tanks, the Challenger 2 specifically, and then the Leclerc main battle tanks from France. Largely because I do not think, and let me check this, I do not think that anyone operates the Leclerc outside of France. So there may not be an export variant of this tank. Oh, I'm wrong. Actually, what? The United Arab Emirates uses... Huh. Also, the French all these little dots around the world, that's France. But the United Arab Emirates owns Leclerc's. Why? Why did they pick that? I mean,
seriously, aren't they loaded?
UAE. Well, I mean, like the Leclerc, from what we know, is an expensive tank. It's actually pretty on up there in terms of its optics, ergonomics, and everything else. But UAE Leclerc, I've got to see. Oh, they really do. Bizarre. Like they're the only country in the world that uses the Leclerc except France. Honestly, that camo is actually not that bad for a desert camo. Like, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, somewhat. It kind of looks very reminiscent of an Abrams.
And no. No, if you put them side by side, oh no, definitely not. We'll go to an M1A2 real quick. And an M1A2 is just really flat, kind of angular on the turret. The Leclerc is more rounded. You know, it's got like a round front turret to it a little bit.
Somewhat.
Also, Matthew, this is a really neat fun fact about the Leclerc. The Leclerc is special because it's the only Western-made tank that has an autoloader inside of it that's still used.
I wonder why they chose to use one and we don't.
I don't know. I think it was the fact of lowering the crew number from 4 to 3. They're the only country that ever did that. Everyone else decided to keep a 4-man crew and a loader because if a tank gets hit, you know, like I tell you with the T-72s, if the engine gets knocked out, the autoloader stops working, so the entire tank becomes inoperable immediately. You can't even use the gun because there's no way to reload it at that point. So that does have a shortcoming in that regard. But still, moving on from the tanks, we will be looking and waiting to see if the Leopard 2s do get delivered from Germany to Ukraine in the future in a new arms package. But until then, the Ukrainians will be using these little things. We're going to be moving on into the next bit of news near Krasnohora, where we saw the Ukrainians pull out the firepower on the Russians, pretty much. I don't know why I was about to say the Ukrainians. I was getting Russia and Ukraine mixed up, man, and like in my head it mixed together into Ukrainians. But anyways, here's the Uragan battery.
333.
Oh my god!
Damn, son.
Meanwhile, in the United States, they're picking this up as a 5 on the Richter scale. They're like, whoa.
Yes.
Dang, that was the sheer force of the rockets firing was enough to shake the camera this far away. That is actually pretty wild. And also, it's very rare to see Uragans or any MLRSs, especially of this caliber, being put into a single battery to fire on a single area. Whatever they were hitting must have been a very large target. And I think that they hit it. I would assume with this many here, it looks like there's 4 Uragans in this one spot, all firing in the same place. I think they hit it. Or as they used to say, I think we got him. But anyways, we're moving on.
They eliminated it, like made it disappear.
Enemy spotted. Just such an earthquake. You know, they probably stopped the entire Russian offensive wherever that thing was firing just because they got thrown off their feet from the vibrations in the earth. But anyways, moving on from that and down into the Bachmut area. I'm sure someone's about to say, that's not possible. I'm just kidding. We can see some Russians getting hit by artillery. And he's back with the car antenna and the explanations of how everything went down. He's back. I don't know who this guy is, but he is like the narrator of every single artillery barrage in the Bachmut area.
Це все труби від випущених хробаками по позиціям ЗСУ протитанкових керованих ракет. Конкурс називається. Скорочено ПТУР від ПТРК. І тут того лайна купа. А ще тут.
And it also looks like this position had already been hit before.
Та й сюди тут. Вони тут всюди. Таке враження, що хробакам їх замість сухпая видають з обов'язковим завданням відпрацювати. А це зовсім поряд вогнева точка від хробачого кулемета. Ну і відстріляні гільзи на ній. Тут же на пагорбі виявлена вогнева мінометна точка хробаків-інтервентів навколо.
Man, this guy is just having a merciless weep down here. Sitting down there going... And this guy's just looking at him on the drone. He will be taken care of very soon. And he's just crying down there. He's like, I didn't get paid this month.
Бахмуту.
They're gonna wipe all the tears away, I guess you could say.
Це два Юболдєя, один з них крутиться з бусолю. Бусоль – це такий прилад керування вогнем артилерії. Враховуючи, що сьогодні 6 січня і вже пора до різдвяного столу, ми ту біду зараз швиденько спробуємо утилізувати і зайнятися іншими справами. Поки готується стволка, продовжуємо спостерігати за позицією хробаків.
Now the sobbing man has walked off. He's now looking over the trench solemnly.
Спілкуються між собою. 63-я бригада ЗСУ працюватиме. Але швиденько. Працюємо на враження. Вогонь! Ай, джага-джага!
Hey, he did it again! He did it again!
Дуже повільно. Баф! 63-й красунчик. Тим часом, коли, скоріш за все, за святковим столом ви дивилися це відео, в околицях Бахмуту пішов рясний сніг. І завтра це вже буде зовсім інша війна.
Now we're getting a slideshow of the next artillery shell hitting. And Jaga Jaga, he did it again. Like, it was the same presentation and everything. This guy needs to get a job doing this, because I think it would be hilarious to watch him say that about everything. Poof, Jaga Jaga. But anyways, with that, that's the end of the video. Once again, another direct artillery hit right onto the Russian forces outside of Bachmut town. We're now going to be moving on into the next bit of news in the Bachmut area, where we also saw the Ukrainian army helping to evacuate civilians and citizens from the area.
Ляжа творится, пипец тут.
We hear the gunfire and battles going on in the distance as they're helping these people to get through this completely abandoned and destroyed street.
Погнали, ребята.
Треба буде трошки пройти.
Та куди не приїдемо? Ну, бо машина далі, тут барикади.
Хлопці, а там у нас сумок валом.
Сумок, ребят.
Беремо тільки те, що саме необхідне.
Пойди сюда, батюшка.
And with that, that's the end of the video, but giving you a little bit of an insight as to what's going on in the Bachmut area as they continue to try and evacuate citizens from the town before anything can happen to them, unfortunately, or in the worst case scenario, if Ukraine starts to lose the town. Of course, they don't want people to be left behind because nothing but atrocities will occur afterwards, and so they're still trying to get them out of there, just in case if things went from bad to worse. We're going to be moving on into the next bit of news from Bachmut, where we also got the situational update from the town of Bachmut, from the man of Bachmut, who's been giving us updates day by day before Christmas. And so here's the update from today.
Місто Бахмут, 6 січня. Друзі, наразі ситуація, яка склалась в місті Бахмут, дуже складна. за минулу і позаминулу добу. Просто маси піхоти, артилерійського вогню. Мордор лізе, намагається прорвати наші позиції. На деяких напрямках там на 50 на 100 метрів не вдалося просунутися. Просто такі пристрелюються. Колосальні маси піхоти і дуже, мабуть, багато БК підвезли. Тривають постійні штурми, атаки. Лінія оборони в таких надвлічких умовах тримається. Місто стоїть. Але, друзі, хотілося б зазначити, що ЗСУ робить все можливе і неможливе для того, щоб втримати місто і Бахмут, щоб був українським. Але для цього і ЗСУ, мабуть, потрібна якась допомога. Ті ж мавіки, які коригують вогонь переднього краю, танки, артилерію, міномети, і за які наш міністр Резніков сказав, що вони не потрібні, так от, ну, я не знаю. Друзі, трошки в нас стрім перервався, деякі товариші не дають довести. Так от, пане Резніков, можливо, вам не докладували, але мавіки на даний час, Mavic 3, вони, як і розвідувальні, як і ударні БПЛА, мабуть, саме основну роль виконують. І це в основному волонтерські. Дуже б хотілося, щоб ми централізовано закупали їх для Збройних сил на той час, поки будуть, скажімо так, матрикси, аутели і більш серйозніші види БПЛА. Брат Колумб, скажи пару слів установки в Бахмуті.
Обстановка зараз складна. Орки, не дивлячись про те, що казали, що не будуть вони стріляти, стріляють в повний зріст. Намагаються атакувати, але поки що в них нічого не виходить. Я думаю, що так буде і далі. Слава Україні!
Героям слава! Друзі, насправді обстановка тяжка і це все не так просто, як в TikTok і як із відео. Але Збройні сили роблять все можливе і навіть, мабуть, неможливе в даній ситуації. Хочеться багато чого сказати, але не можу. Я думаю, що ситуація виправиться, а ви не будьте байдужими, допомагайте Збройним силам. А ми будемо просто робити свою роботу. Тому що так треба для України. Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
And of course, like I was saying earlier, the situation is starting to, I guess you could say, evolve into being a little bit more difficult, like they were saying in the video, considering that the Russians are now taking the fields near Krasnodar and have also taken half of Soledar. It appears that the northern front, the northern flank of Bachmut may start to go into a state of jeopardy, I guess you could say, or a little bit of peril. And it would be very important to either push the Russians back out of the areas that they control of Soledar and the fields near Krasnodar, or to reaffirm a defensive line elsewhere that is more advantageous around the area of Bachmut. Of course, there are places, but we're not going to say exactly where. One thing I would like to point out, though, is that several days ago on stream, I did say that the Russians would be a lot more intelligent to not directly push into Bachmut and to try and move around the flanks and focus most of their efforts there. And it appears that over the past 72 hours, they may have finally made that shift, and that is why we're seeing that they're making some ground, is that they may have relocated some forces fighting directly into the city to fight on the northern flank. We're not really sure, and we're not really getting a good breakdown of what exactly the Russians really are doing, but I believe that the Ukrainians, of course, that we've seen that they've been very adaptive in most situations and in most battles, will most likely divert the proper amount of forces and materials into this northern flank to make sure that it gets held here, and they wait until the offensive eventually fizzles out. We're now going to be moving on into the last bit of news from Bachmut, where we also saw some explosions once again in Bachmut. And in case if anyone had questions, this is from the 6th, and these are Russian shells. And I won't be able to play the audio, but you can see here, they're looking around, the birds are flying off. And if I could play the audio, you would hear the shelling. You can also see the airburst rounds falling onto the town. And that is, in fact, Russian artillery. And this is a Ukrainian filmographer. And so you can see that the ceasefire that the Russians were talking about on the 6th to the 7th was not adhered to. And in case some of y'all are saying, well, that's because Ukrainians didn't accept it, the Russians declared a unilateral ceasefire and requested that the Ukrainians join it and it become a bilateral ceasefire, so that way people in this area could celebrate Christmas. Well, I guess you could say the Eastern Orthodox version of Christmas. And so even if the Ukrainians hadn't accepted it, the Russians would have operated today as though they were not involved in a war, and if they got fired on, they would return fire. But instead, we can see that they're still conducting offensives today. They took half of Soledar today. They are halfway to Krasnohora today, and nothing appears to be showing that a ceasefire was ever in place. It never even began, at least as the Russians are concerned, or the Ukrainians are concerned. And we can see those airburst shells still exploding over the apartment blocks. You know, it almost looks like flak. And of course, that's the end of the video, but once again, the ceasefire never came into effect. We're now going to be moving into Russia, because one thing that I remember is that someone came into this live chat and said something like when the Ukrainian soldier in that update video a couple of days ago said Slava Natia, which means glory to the nation in Ukrainian. He said Nazis, you know, he went lunatic, and then we had to ban him. One thing that we saw in Moscow today was actually pretty wild. I'm going to let y'all see it, and y'all judge for yourselves.
Я призываю Божие благословение на всех участников сегодняшней встречи. Будем стоять крепко за Россию. Слава России!
What the hell was that?
That was a little different that time.
That was a little, that's a little more straightforward than before. Well, interesting. Also, who is this guy supposed to be? A Santa Claus cosplayer? Like, what's going on here? Like, what the hell
I guess
is
you could
this?
say this time you want to make it very clear what he was representing.
Yeah, I mean, like, if that isn't as on the nose as you could get, that is as straightforward as it ever gets. If anyone's the Nazis in this war, it must be the Russians, the Eastern Orthodox, or the Russian portion of the Eastern Orthodox Church, or something similar, because this is as far as they've gotten to actually doing the whole Zeke thing with the arm. But before this, you heard a lot of statements that were kind of indicating that they were heading in this direction. A little bit interesting, I'd have to say. We're going to be moving on to the next bit of news from inside of Moscow since we're here, where we can also see that the Foreign Affairs building caught on fire today. This is the actual Moscow Foreign Affairs Ministry for the entirety of the Russian Federation, and it caught on fire today. Someone was trying to burn documents and ended up catching the building on fire.
Yeah.
Someone said that, I'm going to burn the documents. Oh, it's getting out of control. Let me grab the vodka. Poured it on top of it, and then it just made it worse. Oh, God. And then they had to call in the fire department. But very interesting to see that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs caught on fire, and we really don't have an explanation as to why. Moving on into the next bit of news, which is actually outside of Russia, we're going to be moving to the United States real quick, because we actually heard that more supplies, not only the Bradleys, are going to be sent over to Ukraine as well. And we heard that the United States is sending the Sea Sparrow. Those are pretty neat little birds. I'm just kidding. Those are anti-ship missiles that can hit at a pretty decent range. I'll pull this up for y'all real quick so that y'all can see some data and information on the Sea Sparrow missile. There's a picture of one, and look at that little buddy go. This one's on the USS Abraham Lincoln. So, some of y'all are probably asking, what the hell does a Sea Sparrow do? Well, it can travel at around 2,645 miles per hour at its fastest. It can also have a operational range of about 10 nautical miles. So not an incredibly long-range anti-ship missile, but it is a very competent one, and it's also incredibly fast. If we take that and put it into a Mach calculator, see, Mach number calculator. So, can we get miles per hour? Yeah. Alright, so this thing goes 2645. 2645. 2645. And then we click enter. And we don't get a number.
It's 0 Mach.
it is absolute Mach, like absolute 0. How in the hell do we let's see, miles per hour to Mach. I know that Mach is different at certain altitudes. We're just talking. Okay, so here we go. 2645. So the fastest that this missile can travel at is Mach 3.45. So that's actually quite fast. This is about the fastest I think anti-ship missiles can get, as far as I know. And while it does have a short range, it will get there quickly. I don't think they'll have a lot of reaction time, considering that this thing is probably covering about a mile every few seconds. Well, maybe even just a mile every 2 seconds or so. So pretty decent missile, I'll have to say. We're moving on from that. I gotta say, that is a really cool picture with it busting out the little cover that it has and like shooting out and everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I like the Abraham Lincoln like graphic they have up there on the left.
Why in the world does Abraham Lincoln look like he's like some kind of a warmonger? That smile, he's like, yes, hellfire be unto thee. It's like
he looks real suspicious over there. Is that supposed to be like a penny or something?
I think that is supposed to be a penny. I don't know, but the smile is still weird. I think that's a hilarious looking smile, whoever drew that. So we're going to be moving on into the next bit of equipment that we can see on the list. They're also sending 100 more armored personnel carriers of the M113 variant, 55 mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles, some more MRAPs, 138 high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicles, which are Humvees, and then 18 self-propelled howitzers, which are the M109s, and 30 more towed howitzers, which are the M777s. So quite a decent package just beyond the Bradleys alone, and hopefully it'll get even better. We're now going to be moving on out of the United States and back into Ukraine, all the way back to where we started. But before we do that, actually, I forgot. The Bradleys. Because no amount of U.S. support right now can go without a mention on the Bradley. And right now we saw that a train moving through Bulgaria was bringing in more Bradley. And so let's check out the video. Actually, I'm sorry, it's trucks. I got it wrong. Also, music is a little bussin'. When you see the Bradleys being transported on the back of these trucks. Oh, man. There's a lot of them. I wonder what it's like to transport a Bradley like that. I wonder if truck drivers are like, oh, this is really cool. Or if they're just like, it's another job. I wonder how they feel about that.
It's got to be. It's like a privilege to get to haul such a fine piece of equipment.
Oh, yeah, I bet you it is. And the Bradleys are just still super cool looking. I think they're really neat. Also due to their abilities as well. With that, we're now moving on into the location unknowns, because we have some interesting little videos today, starting off with our first one where we saw the Ukrainians pull up a direct hit on a Mista and vaporize the thing on film. Very rare that we ever see a drone getting record something like that, but we did see it today. Now before we get to that, we have to address the polls, because Matthew put up a poll and 1,000 of y'all have voted on it, asking about the recent push in Bachmut and what the Ukrainians will be going through because of that. And it appears that it's actually a pretty mixed poll. It looks like it's almost split right down the middle. So take us through it, Matthew, and let's see why everyone is split down the middle.
Right. So we have 3 polls to go over, and the very first one here says, do you think that given the recent Russian push in Bakhmut, will Ukraine start experiencing losses? Specifically referring to land losses. And I would have clarified that, but sadly, there is a word limit on the polls, which has always been the bane of my existence. But it looks like the results are 43% said yes, Ukraine might start taking losses, 16% said unsure, and 41% said no, Ukraine will continue to hold firm. Now, to be honest, I'm going to base my opinion on what I heard in that last video, and it sounds like the tide might be turning slightly, but I don't think it's anything to get really worried about, because, you know, sometimes things come in waves. Ukraine loses a little ground, they'll gain it back. But overall, nothing to worry about, but they might start taking a few losses in land. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say that they are taking some small losses of land right now, but one has to remember, and this is something very important, we've been talking in a perspective, and we might have to change this a little bit. We're always talking in a perspective these days of the Ukrainians taking land. And that is actually something that's a little bit misconstrued. As long as long as they're not really losing land, or they are inflicting such a high amount of casualties that the amount of land that they're taking wasn't even worth the cost in casualties and losses, they are winning the defensive war as far as it's concerned. That, and also, let me say this, because I know someone's about to say, that's not winning. Let me explain to y'all another strategy very similar to that to show y'all what a defensive strategy entails. We're going to go to Switzerland again real quick, because while they haven't been in a war for about the past 200 years or more, except for the Sunderbund War, which was a civil war, they have been, I guess you could say, one of the people out there who are really getting into doctrines and defensive strategies, because they're not an offensive country. They can't actually declare a war or get involved in one due to how their constitution is written out and due to the Congress of Vienna of 1815. So in the 1930s and 40s, when they were getting surrounded by the Axis power on all sides, and they saw that these people weren't necessarily incredibly friendly to them, they designed a thing called the redoubt. And the redoubt was a massive amount of fortifications, thousands upon thousands of bunkers that were laid out in the Swiss Alps. It made the entirety of the Swiss Alps, from north to south, east to west, across the entirety of the country, a massive fortress. Literally. We can actually pull up a map of this. Let's see, Swiss redoubt bunker map. And so let me see if I can show this to y'all. Here we go. So the areas in red were areas where there were defensive fortifications, but this area in blue here was where there were so many bunkers. There's such a density of bunkers within these mountains that it may as well just be one giant continuous fortress wall that is built inside of these mountains. The idea was that the Germans could take a decent amount of Switzerland, and the Italians could as well from the south, but they would never be able to take the country entirely. The Swiss could launch counterattacks from the mountains to harass the Germans in the area and tie up a decent amount of resources, time, and effort for such a long amount of time that the Germans would never be able to win that war as an offensive war, and the Swiss would eventually win it as a defensive war, although during the most of that war, they would have lost a substantial amount of land. In fact, the entire area to the north that you do not see in the blue is where pretty much the entirety of the Swiss as a country live. They would have lost, I believe, at the estimates of the time, around 60 to 70% of their actual population mass if the Germans had taken this northern area and they retreated into the redoubt. But that's how defensive wars are fought. The entire premise of it is that you're not supposed to lose a lot of ground, and if you do, you need to make it as expensive as possible to the enemy in both manpower and equipment, to the point that they would not want to take that ground. Believe it or not, funnily enough about the story, to wrap this whole thing up to a close to show y'all how effective this doctrine was, the Swiss had made the country so impregnable, so impenetrable against an actual offensive where anyone would have been able to take the country as a whole, that the Germans never actually invaded Switzerland for that reason alone. The Germans actually had a plan called Operation Tannenbaum, much like there was Operation Sea Lion to invade Britain, that also never occurred due to the failure of the Battle of Britain, the air war that occurred over Britain from 1940. At the same time, Operation Tannenbaum never happened either, because the Germans looked at the Swiss fortifications and also the plans that they had, which pretty much included blowing up every single piece of infrastructure that was not inside the redoubt, and also blowing up mountain passes so avalanches would form and then pretty much block anyone from moving through the Alps. The Germans decided that it would just be too costly and too difficult to invade Switzerland, so they never did. And don't you think that's kind of funny, Matthew, that they said that about Switzerland and left them alone, but at the same time, they went to war with the largest Western powers in the world and the Soviet Union all at the same time, but they wouldn't touch Switzerland? They're just like, eh.
Yeah, they figured they would like up it by a factor of 20 and see if they could handle that instead.
Yeah, they're like, this might be a little too difficult. But fighting the Soviet Union and the United States, Britain, France at the same time, doable.
Yeah,
it's doable.
We'll have that.
Yeah, we'll have some of that. Also, another thing that's really cool about the redoubts is that not only were they a massive fortress, they were very hard to see. This is a shed, but it's an artillery bunker. Well, not an artillery bunker. I believe that's actually an anti-tank gun, if I remember correctly. That's
like a gun.
Yeah, that's not a rock. That's an anti-tank gun on a turret that they made to look kind of like a rock. This is not a normal rock either. That's also another Swiss anti-tank gun that's inside of a rock. They just haven't opened up the door to it yet. And if you
I
look
wouldn't mistake that one for a rock any day. That thing looks really suspicious, like something deadly's under there.
Yeah, but if you look at it as compared to the rest of the Swiss Alps, if this picture gets, I mean, I guess, more refined, the resolution will not bump up. So let me see if I'm going to find another one. Let's see here. And I'm trying to make a point out of all this, so just stick with me, everyone, and there is a point to be made here. Where the hell is this? That's not a good example. That's a terrible example.
Like how the Swiss like put a little like a gazebo or like a little hut over it, and they think it makes it look cute and disguises it.
Yeah, that was literally the entire principle behind it. Make it look like it's a normal house. Like right here, you see this? Which one of them is the bunker?
The one right here on the right.
Yes. But if you were passing through the Alps past all of these normal buildings that looked like that, you would think it was another building. Like, when you actually blend these in, they're actually really hard to see. It's just that these are on a picture, so you can, of course, stick them out and point them out because, they're deliberately trying to show you, look, it's a weapon of war. But if you're just walking around and wandering around, you wouldn't really see those things all too well. So you can see that a defensive plan like that does work. And getting back into Bachmut, not talking about the bunkers and everything like that, that's not really applicable to the Ukrainian situation, but the idea of making this ground so costly to take that it wasn't worth it, much like the Swiss readout, is the exact same principle that they're working off of. And so while the Russians may eventually take Bakhmut, much like they did Severodonetsk and Lysychansk by the skin of their teeth, it will have cost them so much that the battle wasn't even worth it. In the end, it would be something of a strategic victory, but a tactical defeat, or a it wouldn't be a tactical victory. It would still be a strategic victory, but a tactical defeat. But I do not think, however, they will take Bachmut because it's still, the city itself is still standing, and they still control the south very heavily, which is needed to make sure the Bachmut can continue to be supplied and continue to be held. So with that, I hope that does address that poll fairly well, in my opinion on it, because in my opinion, I do not think the city will fall. I think they'll still be able to hold it, although they may end up losing at this point Soledar and Krasnohora, but they will hold the southern flank, which will allow for the supplies to continue to flow. So with that, I hope that does address the poll fairly well, and I think we have one more.
We have two more, actually. That was only the first one. And the second one says, the Russians broke the ceasefire. Are you surprised that they broke their own self-mandated ceasefire? Because remember, the Ukrainians didn't agree to it, but Russia said they were going to go ahead and do it themselves anyway, because Putin wants them to have a Merry Christmas. But anyways, 94%, which is a humongous majority, say no, I'm not shocked at all. 4% said yes, I'm surprised, and 2% said unsure. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that I knew they were going to try to back out of that, because why would they stop fighting while Ukraine keeps fighting? That would be really stupid. But Enforcer, what say you?
I wasn't ever surprised at all. It seemed to me that it was a complete ruse. They were never going to follow it, even if the Ukrainians had agreed to it, and the entire idea was to just try and create something out of nothing. It really is, as far as I'm seeing it. And so with that, I hope that does address the poll fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And we have another pretty evenly split poll. The third and final one says, what is Russia's strategy right now in Bakhmut? The most popular option is 34% that says attack in waves and make small gains. The second most popular option is 29% said stall while being resupplied, and then 28% said consistent fighting and wearing down Ukraine, and 9% said unsure. Now on this one, I have to say, it appears the consensus is we don't know what the hell Russia's really doing. I'm going to have to say unsure, but Enforcer, what say you?
I think their idea, Matthew, is to attack in waves and make some gains, because that's kind of what they've been trying to do the entire time. They're not wearing down the Ukrainians, because an offensive is more exhaustive for the offending force than the defending force or the offensive force. So I don't think that is their goal, to try and wear down the Ukrainians, because they would do that by launching successful defensives and setting up defensive fortifications allowing the Ukrainians to run into them instead of them running into Ukrainians. That's exhausting them more so than it is Ukraine. So I think that that's out of the picture as an option. And I think that the next option that would be out of the picture would be, what was the second option, Matthew? Below attack in waves, make gains?
It was stall while being resupplied, attack in waves, or consistent fighting.
Stall while being resupplied is something we're not seeing either, because the attacks are consistently going on and they're very intense at all times. They've never really withdrawn any of their forces from the line ever since they've been there, and it appears that the Wagner unit has been on the front line for 4 months. And if y'all know anything about rotations and making sure that units get rested and then go back to the front well replenished, they're not doing that. At least with the Wagner group, they've been there for 4 months on the front line fighting, and they have never been taken off the line publicly or long enough for us to actually notice. So going off of that, once again, it looks like the Russians are not trying to stall. So it appears that they're continuing to try and attack in waves, completely disregarding any kind of normal doctrines with troop resting times and such things like that. And they're trying to just overrun the Ukrainian defenses eventually with raw manpower and eventually take the town. That's at least what I'm seeing. But really, in the end, it doesn't make much sense. So who really knows? It's not really following any kind of actual precedent. But with that, I hope that does address that poll fairly well. And I think we're now on to the questions.
And we are. And first up, we have a very generous super chat and the return of a channel legend, Sylvester the Cat.
He's
Dang,
back.
it scared the hell out of me. But anyways, Sylvester the Cat puts in a $70 donation and says, Happy New Year, Enforcer and Matt. I grow impatient. Are going to have to wait until the spring to see a major Ukraine offensive, ? And also, Leaf Spring Tanker.
And also, Leaf Spring Tanker. You are, I think you're one of our few Leaf Spring Tankers. I think we have some, but there's not a large number of y'all. So really cool to know that we actually have like an armored brigade here in the Leaf Spring Army. And also, the other thing is Happy New Year. You have been around. You haven't been around so long that New Year's, it was like a week ago. But Happy New Year to you. I'm glad that you're back. I'm just happy to have you back. And of course, I'm kind of growing impatient too. I can't wait to see what the Ukrainians will be pulling off here soon. We know that they can do it. There's no question at all. You know, I don't know how anyone can go 10 months into this war, nearing 11 months really into this war, and go, I don't think the Ukrainians can pull off a successful counteroffensive, while looking at these giant areas on the map, and also when you go to Deep State, looking at these giant green areas all around Ukraine. It's like, I don't really know how people can say, I don't think they can do it. They can, believe me. Trust me, bro. And I think that when they launch a counterattack, there are two directions they can go in. Either one can be successful at this point. I think there's a high chance that it will be. And so I got to thank you so much once again for the support, Sylvester the Cat. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And I hope that when they launch this offensive, the Russian propagandists go back and cry a little, because they always do whenever a counteroffensive happens. They lose a massive amount of ground. Or they try and explain it away, one or the other. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping us to support the pizza fund. I think we're going to have to create a pig fund, Matthew, because we've been partaking in the pig a lot lately.
Oh, yes, the pig fund. I would like that very much.
Yes. Also, if you ever eat barbecue, just for y'all to know, we're creating a new like phrase on this channel. Instead of saying we're eating barbecue, we're going to say we're partaking in the pig, because it sounds a lot more interesting and just weird. Well, not really weird, but kind of a little, I guess, funny to me. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $50 super chat from Enforcer for President, another channel legend, who says, just wanted to remind you guys how great you are and how much LSA loves you both. And with that, take a question from the chat and LSA for life.
And I think
very much.
And I thank you so much for those kind words, Enforcer for President. That does mean a lot. And also, that was just really nicely well put one. Like, man, I got to thank you for that. Also, I know that you're a big fan because your name is Enforcer for President, so I know that you're a big fan. So I got to thank you so much for the support, Enforcer for President. And we will make sure to say thank you to every single one of y'all in the Leaf Spring Army. So now let me begin. FPS Juan, Backwoods Law, Techno Viking, Siri, Ted B, John Underwood, Todd Metzger, Enforcer Matt, Sean Stewart, James Bond, Verdamp 23, Bull Banks, Techno Viking, Turv Lover, Paula McDonald, K Comco, JD Mako, Ukraine Russia War, Magic Skygirl, Ted B, Techno Viking. Wait a minute, I think I've already said Techno. Yeah, I said Techno Viking. Turv Lover. Oh, I've already said that one. Okay, again. Wait a minute, they're all repeating again. Let's see, Vance Hicks, James Bond, New of the Year, Fly NY, Mr. Lunchtime, Joel Garcia, Lechuga, I believe it is.
Where's that one?
Lachiure. Whenever I see your name, I know you've been here forever, but I think it's Lachuga.
Yeah, I
let's
think
see.
so.
Sitting and thinking, Sean, I think that's how I pronounce your name. Judy Wilson, Hoodoo, Texas, Dupper Bob. Let's see, Mr. Attitude, OO with the little dots. CME for PC, Candy Nose Twinskins, Roger Ward, Hiveland Tuft, Enigma, who's been around a long time. Also, Hiveland Tuft's been around. A lot of y'all have been around forever, but Enigma, I remember Enigma like being here since I think day 4, if I remember correctly. John Underwood, Dave, Richard Herber, Bob Azula, Jasmine at 006. Let's see, Gonzalo Chavarria, James Martinez, George Robertus, Timothy Walker, Rated PG, Georgia Lake, Paula McDonald, I already named off, Sean Stewart. Let's see. Man, it gets hard as I go further up. There's like more and more names that just everyone just keeps repeating. J Mass, JD Mako 23, Barry Mundy, and I would call off all of y'all, and I'm trying to call off as many of y'all as I can, but I appreciate all of y'all for being here, and a lot of y'all I recognize time and time again, night after night. Y'all are always here, always enjoying this channel, and supporting us and helping us to keep this thing running, and also supporting our fundraisers. And I got to thank y'all so much for just being here. It means a lot to us. And I think, and of course, it's so sad that we're human, because after a while, sometimes things just get to feel normal. And I've got to be honest, sometimes I just get on here and I run the news and it doesn't even feel like it used to. And I know how much of a special position this is. And whenever y'all say stuff like that, Enforcer for President, it reminds me how lucky I am to be the one that gets to report the news to y'all, and how lucky I am to also have a community like y'all, because it's so special. I don't see communities like this out there ever. I don't see any community that is this into the entire channel, the Lee Spring Army, everything like that. You don't see that out there, and I'm entirely appreciative of every single one of y'all who come here and watch this every night, because it does mean a lot to me. And I think back on those first few months of the war when everything was new and everything, because of course when it's new, it's super, super cool. It's still super cool. But I remember back then just feeling like it was the highest honor and the highest praise to have people appreciate what we do and watch it. And it still does a lot to me. And I got to thank you so much for that, for those kind of words, because it reminds me how lucky I really am and how special this channel really is and what we're doing. And so thank you so much once again. And we will take a question from the live chat, and long live the LSA.
Right. And the question from the live chat is going to go to WNNR 1957, who says, how many tanks do you think Russia has left? All the ones that they have in their museums, I'd guess.
Yeah. Let's go to the Kubinka Tank Museum and let's take a head count. But I think they have around 500 left, in all honesty. About 500 operational tanks left, thousands of inoperable tanks left in supply depots that they can probably get running, but there will be a very small percentage of them that will actually continue to function. So I would say about 500, and at a very liberal estimate, about 1,200, if I had to take a shot in the dark. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support, Enforcer for President, and I hope we address that live chat fairly well. And so with that, let's get on to the final question of this segment, and then we're getting back to the news.
All right, and the final one of this segment goes to Trister1, who puts in a $50 donation and sadly does not leave a comment. But Trister, I think that might be your first time supporting the channel, so thank you very much for the support. And also, Enforcer, we're going to get one more after you give a few words on this one, since it didn't have a comment.
Got you. And I thank you so much for the support, Trister. I think that is your first time supporting. If it is, I'm sorry, because we do try and remember everyone's names. Sometimes though, if you haven't like supported the channel or sent in a super chat and we haven't seen you a lot in the live chat for like months on end, we may not remember you. But I do thank you so much.
Enforcer, you're gonna go ahead and apologize in advance.
Yeah,
like,
because
go ahead and prime it.
I remember that one guy though, Matthew. Remember he sent in like a super chat 6 months before, and he wasn't really active in the live chat, and he sent one in. I'll say, I think that's your first time supporting, and he literally melted down in the live chat. What do you mean you don't know who I am? Like, he was like going crazy. Berserk. Yeah. So if you were around months ago, but you weren't active a lot, we may not remember your name exactly, but I do thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And you didn't leave a comment. We love when people leave comments because it allows me to add a whole lot more to what you send in as support, because I would love to add something in or talk to y'all about something. But I do thank you so much once again for the support, Trister, and helping this channel to keep on running. I think we're gonna put that one towards the. And the pipe fund is gone because the pipes were fixed. But what in the world could we?
We're gonna put it toward the pike fund.
The pike fund, the pike fish. With that, thank
pike
you.
place.
Pike place. Ew. Anyways, with that, I drink dirt water, Matthew. Come on, get classy here. But with that, on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support, Trister.
And look, I know that Pike Place tastes like smoked cigarettes, but for some reason I've gotten used to it and I can't get off of it. Like any other coffee makes me feel sick. So I just love Keurig Pike Place is the best way to go. I have it every single night and it keeps me up somewhat.
You see, when Matthew and me go on vacation, Matthew always walks out of the motel room to the garbage can and he opens it up and he goes, cigarette butts. He just starts eating. Oh, man. But anyways, beyond that silly little family joke, I'll have to pull out the family album, Matthew, sometime and show him that. Let's get on to the last question of this segment and then on into the location unknowns.
And the last question of this segment goes to none other than Magic Sky Girl, who puts in a $50 donation. It says, good job listing off all those LSA names, but we a huge force, and you cannot list everyone unless you do a standalone video on that, and that is true. Now give us all a conversation between Mike Tyson and the Orange Dude, please.
And thank you so much for the support, Magic Sky Girl. Also, welcome back. I did see that in the 10-minute countdown, you were talking about how you hadn't had power for the last few days and you're hanging out with a friend. I hate to hear that. I don't know, like the exact, of course, I don't know the exact story behind that, but I have a feeling that it's probably due to weather of a sort, if I had to take a guess, because we've dealt with something like that. Some kind of weather of a sort, power got knocked out, power companies are overloaded with calls trying to fix all the infrastructure that's been knocked out, so they haven't gotten to years and days, so then you went over to someone else's house to try and wait it out. We had to do that one time, actually, when we lived in another city here in Alabama. The power was out for 3 weeks, I think, and we had to go somewhere else because, hell, I mean, like, what were we supposed to do? And it was also midsummer, so it was like 100 degrees at night, and you were just living in a boiler room every day. Even if you walked outside, it was still hot. But still, I gotta thank you so much once again for the support, Magic Sky Girl. And I think that maybe one day, Matthew, we will do. You know, I'm thinking about something. I'm trying to think of something special.
You're gonna do like that Mr. Beast thing where you, oh no, I said his name, but anyways,
oh,
you're gonna do that thing where he calls off like every single name, like of the live chat for like 24 hours straight.
Maybe. I think that would be a pretty neat video to do, a live stream. I don't think I would subject you to that torture though, Matthew. So I think I would just
say I was going to be here.
Yeah, I think you could take that day off, but I would be here doing that and trying to get everyone's name possible.
We could take shifts, do like a hour segment at a time. Although that would like take away the the brutality of it.
That takes away the whole dedication of the thing. It's got to be a thing of effort, a thing of dedication. You can't just do that because then you're making it too easy. But anyways. I think I will do that maybe sometime in the future. I'm really still wanting to do the 24-hour live stream. It's just that every single time I talk it over behind the scenes with Matthew and my mom, they're like, "No, don't do that. That's stupid. That's really stupid. Don't do that. That's really dumb. Why would you do that? That's just really goofy. You're goofy." And then I'm like, "Oh."
Most people, I imagine, would probably leave by like 1 o'clock in the morning because most people have to wake up the next day and do stuff.
Hey man, that's fine. They can just watch it for an hour. I mean, it's totally fine. But I'll be here and I'll be doing it, and it'll be a testament of how dedicated we are to the whole Ukraine war thing, and we could run a fundraiser, and it could be a whole thing, and this is my thing. I feel like if we did something like that was that extreme, it would go viral, and if it had a fundraiser attached to it, it could definitely do a lot of help. We may
that might be a good cause right there.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. Because if you do it for 24 hours, obviously people are gonna be like, "There's no way that this guy is that crazy to do this for 24 hours." They get on here,
but he is,
and then they see, and then they see that there's a fundraiser attached to it, and they're like, "Wow, this guy's got some dedication. I'm gonna support the fundraiser just because I appreciate this guy's dedication to this thing." And then they support it, and then the fundraiser becomes unbelievably big. I mean, I don't know how big it would get, but I think that would be cool. So with that in mind, maybe we will. I'm still thinking about that. I still think it's cool. Don't count on that though. because I don't know if I would do that. And also, if I did that for 24 hours straight, I don't know if there would be a stream running the next day after that, because I feel like I would probably have to really go through like a little bit of a recovery there. But anyways, we are going to also do what you requested, Manchester Gargoyle, and you had a very interesting request. Listen, you want Mike Tyson and Donald Trump to go up against each other in some kind of a conversation. So honestly, myself, I like strawberries. Really, Mike? You like strawberries? It's just stupid. Stupid people like strawberries. Nobody remembers the second, and the second place of fruits is Listen, man, you talking out of turn? No, I'm not talking. Listen, man, you don't know what happens to businessmen that talk out of turn. I bite their ears off. Hey, listen, pal. Listen, your ratings have dropped. You got knocked out by that guy. I forgot his name, but you got knocked out by him. You've never recovered. Hey, listen, man. Listen, I like my strawberries, man. You don't have to attack my personality for that. I've gotten into weed and TBHC to calm me down. You're really starting to piss me off. Listen,
hey, Mike. It's Buster Douglas. How you doing, man?
Oh, my God. It's Buster Douglas. You don't understand the pain I'm going through right now. I've been lifting weights, but I just don't have the strength anymore. He doesn't have the strength anymore because he's just not a straight up alpha like I am. I fly around on my plane. By the way, buy the NFT cards, $99.99 on I forgot where, but remember to buy the. Anyways, getting back from that merciless plug. Listen, man, shut your mouth. You don't understand what you're talking about. But anyways, I thank you so much once again for the support, man. This guy. Listen, if anyone can support, listen, with a mouth like that, you can't thank anyone for their support, so stop. I gotta thank you so much. Listen, man, if you overtalk me one more time, I'm gonna beat your ass. So thank you so much once again for the support, Mantis Sky Girl. I gotta thank you so much for helping out this channel. And while we're not known as a voice impersonation channel, of course, it means a lot to me that we can keep this channel running. And thanks to your support, we're able to have silly little moments like this. And so with that, we are now moving on out of this question segment. I hope y'all enjoyed that little thing. You know, we always do voices every once in a while. We try and keep them a little low-key because I do see people that complain, like, religiously about that. So we're sorry about that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it, Magic Sky Girl. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And long live the Lee Spring Army. And with that, we're now moving on into the location.
This was a rabbit hole for the books, by the way. This was like maybe the longest like question segment we've ever had.
It was. And so we are now on into the location unknowns, where we can finally see that direct hit on a Mista. Ooh, that's a little bad. We should have put that in the clip. I love that meme, by the way. If y'all like that, it may become a permanent addition. But I feel like our intro is getting so long at this point, I don't really know. Anyways, we're moving on to the next bit of location unknown news, where we can also see a Ukrainian sniper in action too, and it looks like he's gotten fairly accurate. When you see the Russians out there in the distance, when you see him fire, and wow, this guy is switching around. It looks like he got rid of the first guy. He's now working on the second guy. You see one of the bullets landed fairly close. And I think he got both of them. Let's see, it looks like he's still aiming at yeah, he's still firing at this guy. So I think that he's not really sure if he's down or not. I think he got him that time. I don't know. He's firing a lot. I'll tell you that. This guy has almost turned into a machine gunner with the rate of fire he's got. He's still firing. We'll say that guy may actually be moving now. He may be trying to run. And it looks like that time he did fall over, so he got both of them. So with that, that's the end of the video. Once again, Sniper hard at work. You gotta appreciate them. They get on that 9 to 5, Matthew, and they are really punching them in. Not the time cards though. They're punching in the Russian soldiers into the ground. So with that, we're moving on to the next bit of location unknown news, where we can also see the Russians went on a very successful raid, and not a frontline raid, a looting raid. Look at that. This guy's got a rug. Wait a minute, what the hell is that really? Yeah, that's a rug. This guy's got a shopping cart. Oh my God, Matthew, it's a junkie from San Francisco. He's got
Where are these
cart.
clowns gonna go with the stuff?
I don't even know, but he's got a whole shopping cart. He's dropping stuff all over. And they're so stupid that this guy's literally just gonna walk over it, like literally step on it and everything, instead of picking it up and trying to carry it along. Wait a minute, wait a minute, I don't think that's a shopping cart. I think that's a baby stroller. It is.
Hopefully empty.
Oh, sure, it's probably empty. Well, you know, you never know with them. But there you go. That's another look at the little raids, I guess you could say, that they're running. And hopefully that stroller doesn't have a baby in it, because now you said that, Matthew, I don't know if we could put that past the Russians and how sick they usually are. And so with that, we're moving on into the next bit of location unknown news, where we can see that the Russians are getting some part of the supply line put together, and it appears that they're getting the coffin part of the supply line really down to a T. They're really getting this part of the whole thing worked out, and I gotta say, they're getting the priorities straight. And you can see over there, trucks filled with cheap caskets. Because nothing says, thank you for your service, like a cheap pine wood box to bury your loved ones in. And water park tickets. Ah, nice sight. I bet you all the Russians watching that go off are like, oh, my boy, in the Great Patriotic War, he's finally going to get the nice, soft bed to sleep on. Oh, bleh. You know, because they're so brainwashed, they probably think they're little cots or something. But, yeah, that's not a cot. I mean, like, you know, if you got caught with one of these, man, you'd be in bad news. You'd be in bad shape, I'll tell you that.
Damn.
And also, I think these are such poor quality, we can only assume that the Russian government will probably be so disgraced to actually have someone see their relative inside of this, that we have to assume that all of these will be closed caskets and they won't ever see these boxes. So with that, we're moving on into the next bit of Location Unknown News, our last bit, where we saw a destroyed Russian truck. Actually, 6 of them. I forgot. I forgot about the other 5. And just look at them.
Why does it look like they've been stripped?
It kind of does.
Like, yeah, they've been stripped. There's logs underneath that wheel over there.
Look at this.
Was this Detroit?
Let's see here. Slightly used KAMAZ, model 2012, going for $60,000. I know what I got.
Yeah, you got a piece of carcass right there. Everything valuable has been stripped out of it, probably.
And you also got dementia, that's for sure. But anyways, we're moving on out of the Location Unknowns and on into the Frontline news, where we've been seeing some interesting stuff occurring up in the northeastern area. In the area of Novoselivske, which is directly connected to Kuzmivka, we saw some Russian forces getting in combat with the Kraken. Now, the way this is worded, before we get to the video, is that the Russian forces were fighting the Kraken, but one thing that we already know is that the Kraken, if I am still correct, let me go up here and make sure I am correct, have been inside of Novoselivske for quite a while, and they have been. So let's go to the video and now see this with that in mind. Whoa. Also, this was filmed from a pro-Russian mindset. You can see the Z down here. We can also see them hyping this up. And they're going to make it look like in this video that they're actually winning, but they're actually losing. Over the past few weeks, the Ukrainians have been slowly moving towards Novoselivske and have finally gotten into that village. We can now see them showing a little bit of grad footage. Oh, they're really giving it to them. And now we can see them hitting the village that they're supposedly in. Now see them firing a tank. Also, I like how everyone was just standing on the... What is this idiot doing? He's just standing on the back of the tank while it's firing. Look at this. These guys are having a rave down here on the back of the tank while it's shooting. There's just 4 of them out there. They got 3 in the tank, 4 on top. How many rushes does it take to run a tank? 5.
I think you're supposed to be inside the tank, though, Ivan, because it has armor for a reason.
You see, Ivan, you sit inside tank because inside tank safer. The reality is that the inside of the tank is probably the least safest place right now, because if it gets hit, it goes up like a Roman candle.
True.
We now see a helicopter tilting up and firing off its unguided rockets. Pretty normal. See it now popping off flares. Pretty normal. Now see some of their vehicles moving up at BMP-3 and what appears to be 2 T-72s. You now see them fighting inside the town. Always utilizing those great tactics, like go out into the open and spray full automatic at nothing.
There's somebody asked the Russians, what tactics are you using? Oh yeah, what's tactic?
Hey man, Ivan, what kind of tactics are we using in the village today? Well, I have never attacked a tick before, but I'll tell you if I can. Pulls out a thumbtack and tries to find a tick on the ground. Hey Ivan,
I seriously don't think these guys have any strategy. Like, seriously speaking, they just literally go to a place, start firing their weapons, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you see the Ukrainians, they always have organized plans, and they're methodically doing stuff. These guys, nothing ever looks methodical about any of this. I don't even think they know how to shoot still. It's been 10 months. This guy is literally got stuffing sticking out of his jacket over here. Watch. Right there. Just sticking out of his jacket. That's how poor quality and how badly torn up their clothes are, and they haven't gotten replacements for it.
He ran out of tissues to wipe the tears, so now he's using insulation.
He just pulls more asbestos insulation from out of his coat and sniffs it and then uses it as a napkin.
That's the Gucci Russian using mink to wipe his tears away.
Also, how do you like that, man? Dude, this is a Ukrainian APC, and they're like, look at this, blow this thing away. And 3 artillery rounds land around the APC, but not on it. Not even close. Look. Wow, very intimidating. And now the Ukrainians are standing outside in the middle of the barrage like, wow, man, they suck, don't they? And they're like observing it and everything. Oh, here comes the ghetto bomb. Oh, wait a minute. Y'all notice that? They didn't show it get dropped. It completely didn't work then, because either the pin didn't get pulled properly and it didn't explode, or the other option here, which is equally likely, is that it veered so far off course when falling that it wasn't even close to them when it blew up. So they didn't show it. They just showed it dangling over them, and that was it. They then show a tank getting blown up, but we don't know whose tank that was because we couldn't even tell what identifiers it had on it. So let's go back and look. How the hell are we supposed to know whether that's Ukrainian or not? That could be equally be a Russian tank that got blown up. We can't see Z's on it. They don't show enough footage to show whether it had a Ukrainian flag or a white cross on it or a Z or anything. So we don't even know whose tank that was, but it got blown up. It's always funny to me how they edit these clips where you can never really tell if they're doing anything. Like like right there, they show a Ukrainian standing there, and then they clip the footage where the smoke is clearing and no one's there. That's like, did you hit him, or was he gone? Did he run away? What happened? Like, it's always interesting to see, and this right here actually looks serious. And it looks like Ukrainian soldiers getting wounded. This man is still alive, so he is just wounded. And that's about the best thing that the Russians have actually been able to show. Wait a minute. Are you kidding me? This is a Ukrainian film right here. About the pipe. Remember the pipe to the bunker, and the Ukrainians dropped the grenade down the pipe? They're stealing Ukrainian drone footage, and now they're putting it in their clips to make it look like they're doing something against the Ukrainians.
Wow, they're even stealing footage now?
Yeah, they're even stealing footage. Look at that. You're going to watch him snug the grenade right down the pipe. Yeah, look. The exact same. It's literally the same video. This is Ukrainian video. You've got to be kidding me. We now see a soldier limping through a field. Well, actually, it looks like he may have just been running, but with a decent amount of weight in his pack. And now we can see a toss firing.
Dang, that back blast thing is like kicking up dirt.
Yeah.
Dang, look at those shockwaves.
Yeah, I mean, the toss is a really pretty, like, heavy damaged weapon. I mean, you know, I'm trying to find some way to explain it.
What the hell? Is that the pig?
Yeah, it looks like someone was taking pigs.
Uh-huh.
Oh, look, now the Russians are trying to meme. They can't even meme. Look at this. You know, the Ukrainian... and look, even in the meme, they make the Ukrainians strong, mighty, indomitable. The Russians just a little guy on the field standing all alone. Lame, stupid.
Well, if this is the case, then why does Russia still think they're winning if they see us as being this powerful?
Yeah, that's a good question. They're so full of irony and BS that it doesn't even make any sense from an actual standpoint. But with that, we're moving on from Novoselivsky and further on down into the area of Svatove, a little bit south of Svatove. I completely got ahead of myself there and screwed up what I was trying to say. But anyways, we can see the Ukrainians dropping some more drone grenades. I'm gonna have to mute that, but that's very 2010s-esque. When you see the Russians there,
I see several folks saying that the toss we just watched was shooting thermobaric warheads.
it was. And it was supposedly shooting him into a town that the Russians were fighting in or controlled. So that's kind of a little interesting to think as well. It's like, if you're doing that, or is that friendly fire, or what? Or do the Ukrainians control the town? Because either way, that's not a good look, at least as far as the story they're trying to tell. But we can also see the Ukrainians got these guys hole-in-one with this bunker. Very nice. And we see them zooming in on that shovel and some boots. And so with that, that's that clip. And we're now moving on a little bit further south where we can see something very interesting. A firewood truck. It's a very ugly looking truck, isn't it, Matthew? Looks a lot like it was carrying firewood.
It is firewood now.
It is. But you know what's really interesting?
What?
The Russians disguised fuel trucks to look like logging trucks earlier on in the war, or firewood trucks. And you can see right here that they had little pop-up panels and things like that, so that way they could pump fuel into them, and they would be disguised to look like a civilian logging truck. So that way the Ukrainians...
That's the only thing I've ever seen the Russians do that's actually somewhat borderline ingenious.
It kind of is, but at the same time, I feel like this may be going against the rules of war, trying to disguise military vehicles to look like civilian vehicles, because then you can't discern who's friend or foe. And I believe the rules of war outline that you have to clearly identify your vehicles as military vehicles. You can't try and disguise them as civilian vehicles or something similar. And that's why you see that whenever the Ukrainians or the Russians commandeer or use a civilian vehicle, like a normal car, they always mark it with a Z or a cross or something similar, so that way it's identified as a military vehicle, and there's no chance for, civilians to get obliterated or decimated because they couldn't recognize a normal logging truck from the fake logging truck that was actually a fuel truck.
Yeah, it seems like that makes sense.
Yeah, but anyways, beyond that, getting past that, the Ukrainians did vaporize one of these stupid things, so it looks like it didn't really work all too well for them in the end. And someone actually said that this won't look like a logging truck on the thermal camera, and that's probably true, and that's probably what led to it being destroyed. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from this little interesting bit of news and further on south. for the winner. See what I did there? Tverkno Kamyanka, where we saw that the Ukrainians were hitting the Russians good. Pretty cool intro. I'm just waiting for the music. And we're meeting. Oh, oh no, Matthew, look at this. They dropped the F1 grenade. It falls onto the Russians. Oh, bleh! It's...
Oi.
Jagga. Boof. We now see some Russians in a field. Oh, that's not a good place to be. Oh, that's really not a good place to be. We now see.
Let's go lay out in a flat field so that way we're hiding.
We now see this guy doing the old serpentine trick through the trees. Will it work? Oh, look, a second guy's joined him. There's now two of them.
This guy's hauling butt right here. He's tripping.
Stop, drop,
he's
and roll!
rolling.
Stop, drop, and roll! Now we see that they're going to the trench. We're safe here, Raven. They can't hurt us. Poof. Jugga.
Oh, he ran just in time.
No, I don't think he did. It got him in the shin. So
he's like soccer players when they get injured.
Yeah, that's a yellow con for Arsenal FC. But anyways, with that, that's the end of the video. And you got to see, and you got to see, and you got to know, and you got to see, to say the least, without a doubt. Moving on to the next one, that these guys got hit. We're now moving on into the next one, seriously. And this is going to be skipping past the Bachmut area before we show this clip. We can see a Russian soldier in the pain. Searing pain. Because he's watching other units on another hillside right near him get blown away. And he's like, oh crap, it's coming my way here soon. I'm sure they'll start bringing this in on me.
تقريبا مرنا مغلنا تنرلر النبي كلاق بالله بيها والله الله رانا نيهلا من لا توايد ده يوك تان كلا تو بالله والله او جبي كرخن كتا قدنا رتقين لسبال ساغاي.
He's gonna start singing for us now?
I feel like if you turn the camera around, this guy would be like Gollum.
That's what I was thinking. No good for me, boss. I'm gonna get blown away. It sounds like a goblin.
Turns the camera around. Get back! Get back, demon!
Back, I say! Master, this is not good for me. Oh yeah, I'm turning into Beavis and Butthead here. That's not a goblin. I'm gonna get blown away, Beavis. Wait a minute, no, I think it's Butthead who's the dumb son. Oh, yeah. So wait, Butthead, find me the Great Cornholio. Here comes 155. Poof. But anyways, with that, that's the end of the video, and yeah, this guy knows what's next. We're going to be moving on beyond the Bachmut area and further south on the front line. Well, actually, we're going to be moving to Kramatorsk real quick because we actually didn't cover this early on. A lot of Ukrainians didn't believe that the ceasefire would ever come into effect, and we actually saw that that was true with the people in Slovyansk and Kramatorsk. Courtesy to Radio Free Europe.
Навіщо Росія перемир'я оголосила і чи будуть вони виконувати його?
Ні, виконувати його вони не будуть. Вже ми побачили на сьогоднішній день це.
А що сьогодні відбулося?
Ну, я чула вибухи, мабуть, разів 5. Що, дуже перелякалися, але йти треба, бо їсти хочеться.
Не будуть, це так. Що-то вони там придумують собі, ну, перемир'я не буде.
Чому ви так вважаєте?
Ну, потому что они все время врут. Они как только рот открывают и сразу врут. И я им не верю, и я думаю, я не одна такая.
Того, щоб перегрупуватися і знову піти війною на Україну.
Hey, look, man. See, even this old guy knows it. I bet you actually had military service to have a little bit of a reason to believe this. But we said that he's even saying it. It was common sense. If they actually got a ceasefire, they would have just used the time to regroup, or they would have taken the Ukrainians off guard if they accepted it and believed it.
Не хочемо цього. Хочемо скорого миру і перемоги Збройним силам України.
Да нет, наверное, не будут. Ну а почему? На хитрость, может, идут. Я думаю, что так.
Перемирие. Наверное, какие-то у них свои на это цели есть. Я не думаю, что просто так это Россия будет делать. Вот. Я думаю, что какие-то будут выдвигаться свои условия у них. С этой целью, я думаю.
Откуда мы знаем? Это ж не наше... Откуда ж мы знаем? Что у них в голове?
Це такий, як би сказати, прийом пропагандистський, щоб обдурити легковерних людей, які можуть вірити в це.
А насправді чого вони добиваються?
Пропагандистскими целями. Я не думаю, что на фронте что-то остановилось. Скорее всего, там продолжаются бои тяжелые.
Вот это сегодня стреляют, это называется перемирие по-кацапски. Вот и все.
I wasn't going to say anything about that lady in the middle, but I see the chat's going after her.
We're not going to say anything. But no, I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing at the live chat. You know, there's something with that. We're going to be moving on into the next one. That's the end of that video, but that gives you an idea that no one ever believed the ceasefire from the start. And so we're going to be moving down in the best league, where we can see a video put out by the Russian Armed Forces today of their Mi-28s in action in the area. We take it with a grain of salt. This is made by the Russian Ministry of Defense. We can see them flying over the skyline. We can now see them trying to target something, but we can't tell what it is. Some firing off on guided rockets. See them hitting something else. We can't really tell what it is. And with that, as seen in the video, and you can see right there, these are Mi-28s operating in the Donetsk area. We're now going to be moving on into the next clip of news from the Acheived area, where we saw another explosion occur. We do not know the information surrounding this explosion, but we do know that one occurred 8 hours ago. Here's the video. We see a bright flash, and we see the car alarms go off. So something did blow up, but we don't know what it is. And so on that, we're now moving on into the next bit of news on the front line itself, where we saw the Russians trying to attack on open ground and getting blown away by Ukrainian fire. This has now been marked as NSFW, and I feel like, due to me being desensitized to these kinds of things, it probably
Desensitized.
is. Desensitized. Listen, man, I'm hardly holding it together right now. I'm hardly holding
All right, y'all, I've been desensitized. I can't handle this footage no more.
I've been desensitized. But with that, we're going to be moving on from the Donetsk area. Beyond that footage, not much has happened, and no frontline changes have truly occurred. And so we're now going to be moving on down into the Soledar area. Oh, God. We saw the Ukrainians firing a Milan at the Russians. We're gonna have to mute that because that's copyrighted.
You might have to play that lady again, by the way. It looks like people are requesting it in mass.
No, we're not. We're not gonna be cruel. Well, you see the Milan being fired? You see it on its way. We can't really see what it's going for, but I'm sure we'll see it right there. I don't know what they hit, though. We can't really see it. But with that, that's the end of the video, and we can see that the Ukrainians are once again using those Milans provided by France incredibly well. Also, if any of y'all think I'm laughing at her, I'm not. I'm laughing at y'all because y'all are coming up with the craziest things I've ever seen in the live chat right now. It is unbelievably insane, and I'm getting a kick out of it. Anyways, with that, it's now time for us to move to Kyiv and to listen to the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 318 of the war in Ukraine. And so, without further ado, here is the speech.
Oh, he's got that shirt back on again.
Yeah, he's got that. For some reason, I think it's like a fishing shirt, but here's the video.
Шановні українці, нарешті можна сказати, що нам вдалося вивести Сили України і оборону взаємодію з партнерами на новий рівень, той, який нам зараз дійсно потрібен. Тепер у наших воїнів буде ще більше зброї, техніки, снарядів, оборонних систем, які зроблять нас значно більш підготовленими до будь-яких ескалаційних планів Росії і тих ударів, які держава-терорист завдає, не розрізняючи чи свято, чи будні. Я дякую всім, хто допомагає нам захищати нашу державу і українців. За час після мого візиту до Сполучених Штатів Америки 2 тижні тому у нашому дипломатичному марафоні було вже більше 20 етапів. Це моє спілкування з лідерами Німеччини, Швеції, Японії, Хорватії, Іспанії, Латвії, Туреччини, Франції, Данії, Румунії, Канади, Норвегії, Британії, Нідерландів, Ізраїлю, Греції та Індії. Плюс перші мої переговори цього року з президенткою Єврокомісії, плюс постійні контакти з представниками США. Приміром, сьогодні в Києві була делегація Сенату, також відбулася розмова між міністрами оборони України і США. І сьогодні ж оголошено про новий і дуже потужний пакет американської оборонної підтримки для нашої держави. Вперше ми отримаємо броньовані машини Бредлі. Це саме те, що треба: нові гармати і снаряди, зокрема високоточні, нові ракети, нові дрони. Це вчасно і сильно. Загальний обсяг цього пакету підтримки від США майже $3 мільярди. Я дякую президенту Байдену, дякую конгресменам, усім американцям, які цінують свободу, і які знають, що свободу варто захищати, і які почули Україну під час мого візиту у Вашингтон. Бачимо абсолютно конкретні результати цього візиту і наших переговорів. Маємо тепер значний крок Німеччини вперед на посилення безпеки не тільки України, але й усієї Європи, передусім усього регіону, який межує з Росією. Зміцнення нашої протиповітряної оборони – це пряма робота на деескалацію тут і зараз. Чим менше буде можливостей у Росії тероризувати мирні міста, тим меншим буде і загальний потенціал російської агресії. Я дякую пану канцлеру Шольцу за рішення надати Україні систему ППО «Петріот». Разом з блискучими німецькими «Айріс-Т» «Петріоти» зроблять українське і європейське небо відчутно безпечніше. Також сьогодні з паном канцлером ми обговорили інші аспекти нашої оборонної взаємодії, зокрема 40 мардерів та інші речі, які необхідні, щоб зупинити російську агресію. Дуже важлива розмова була сьогодні з прем'єр-міністром Японії Кішидою. Японія за підсумками минулого року стала лідером серед азійських країн у захисті свободи і міжнародного права. Впевнений, що і цього року, особливо враховуючи головування Японії в групі 7, яке почалось із січня, зможемо разом зробити ще більше для нашої спільної безпеки. Власне, сьогодні ми погодили пріоритети у співпраці в цьому році. І я дякую пану прем'єр-міністру за дуже серйозний пакет енергетичної допомоги, потужні генератори для нашої країни і людей. Можна назвати стратегічною сьогоднішню розмову з прем'єр-міністром Швеції. Зараз почалось головування Швеції в Раді ЄС. І ми розраховуємо саме у час шведського головування вийти на початок переговорів щодо членства України в Європейському Союзі. Це важливий мотивуючий елемент для України і усіх європейців. Попри будь-які спроби Росії дестабілізувати Європу, ми разом стаємо ще сильніше в усіх аспектах, зокрема інституційних. Отже, станом на зараз для України більше ППО, більше бронетехніки, вперше західні танки, більше гармат і снарядів, більше енергетичних і політичних можливостей. А це все означає більше захисту для українців і для усіх європейців від будь-яких проявів російського терору. Рашизм має програти у цій війні в усьому і всюди. На землі, в небі, на морі. В енергетиці, в економіці, в політиці і, зрештою, на лаві підсудних в Міжнародному трибуналі за цю агресію проти України. Щодня ми разом з партнерами наближаємо цей вирок для терористів. Щодня мир стає ближчим. Наступного тижня продовжуємо наш дипломатичний марафон, зробимо Україну ще сильнішою. Я дякую всім, хто захищає нашу державу, дякую всім, хто тримає Бахмут і Донеччину, усім, хто рухається
Your mic's hot.
вперед на Луганщині, усім, хто тримає Південь, усім, хто захищає наше небо. Дорогі українці, будь ласка, пам'ятайте, яке зло воює проти нас, зважайте на сигнали повітряної тривоги і особливо цими святковими днями наші бійці ППО зроблять все можливе, але, будь ласка, допомагайте їм тим, що дбаєте про свою безпеку. Слава Україні!
Unfortunately, your mic was hot the entire time.
And so with that, that's the end for the speech of President Zelensky. And I've honestly got to ask y'all to please stop, because I know that y'all are getting a kick out of that whole thing, but it is a little rude, I would say. So let's just drop the thing. It was funny for a bit, and let's get on to the end of the stream. And so with that is the end of this of the news segment. We're about to be moving on into the question segment. And I thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been a great night of reporting. Of course, I'm highly honored that so many of y'all were here watching this news tonight. And thank you all so much once again. If y'all would like, and y'all haven't, make sure to subscribe, because this stream runs every single day of the week at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, except for Mondays. And so with that, we're going to be moving on into the question segment. But before we get to the questions, we have to cover the polls. So with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so we have one poll for our final segment because we did 3 during the first one. So the final poll says, as of day 318, which is today, how much longer do you think this war will last? 65%, which is the most popular choice, say it'll last for many more months. 27% said years, 1% said days, and 7% said unsure. I think personally it's going to last for probably many years, and that sounds kind of hard to believe right now. But some people didn't think it would last more than 3 days, and they were badly, badly mistaken. So Ukraine's not going to give up, and Russia, who knows what they're going to do at this point, because they're losing and they're unpredictable. So who knows? But I'm going to say years. And Forster, what say you?
I'm going to say most likely months. I believe that it will still end most likely by midsummer. So I'm still banking on that. So we're looking at about 7 more months, most likely, in my opinion, until this war actually comes to a close. And so with that, I hope that does address that poll fairly well. And also, Matthew, I don't know how people say days, because it's like, where in the world does this even look like it'll be over in days? Like, for either side, who's going to
Unless
win?
nukes start flying, it's not going to be over in days.
Well, no one's winning if nukes are flying. You know, no one's going to be able to say, we won, you know, because the whole world's going to be turned into glass. So with that, we are on into the next one.
All right, so we are now moving into our super chat questions. So, first up, we have one from Compound David, who puts in a $20 donation. He's a channel legend also. He says Sea Sparrow will be paired with Soviet-era Buk launchers with radar systems.
And look, it's a Soviet Buk launcher. And thank you so much for the support, Compound David, in letting us know how those things will actually be implemented. Because I was wondering, you know, it was cool for them to get them, but I was like, how in the world are they going to use them? Like, how are they going to launch them? We found out that the Ukrainians never actually got proper launchers for the UK Brimstone missiles, so they ended up having to rig, like, delivery vans to fire them out of the back. So, kind of a little interesting. It still worked really well, though, but that is good to know that they have some way to mount those Sea Sparrows onto a Buk instead of just having to come up with something real roughshod and improvised to try and make them work. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support, Compound David. I've always wondered, Compound David, why are you a Compound David? Are you like a David that has been compacted into a smaller form and therefore you are a Compact David? Or is it Compact David because you are some kind of a legal compact? I'm very interested.
He has Cheems as the profile picture, so if that might have something to do with it.
Compound David. I would like to know why you're Compound, though. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support. You are a channel legend also, and I always have to point that out. And I got to thank you for being a member. If you're not an Old Guard, you are an honorary member of the Old Guard. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, we are on into the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $20 super chat from Lewis, who does not leave a comment. But Lewis, thank you very much for always being around the channel for a very long time, and thank you for the support once again. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I've got to thank you so much for the support, because while you didn't leave a comment, you have been around forever, and you used to leave comments every once in a while, and we do appreciate you so much for your support and helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again.
And also, Compound David said, Compound Pharmacy.
Oh, Compound Pharmacy. Let's pull that up.
So he must be a pharmacist then.
He's a pharmacist, but not the licensed kind. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you.
That would be known as, I guess, a chemist in the UK.
Let's see. Compound Pharmacy. Let's see. It's another type of pharmacy that can benefit many people. Compounding pharmacies offer extra services that other pharmacies may not be able to. These pharmacies mix and combine ingredients to make customized medications.
I've never heard of that, actually.
I've never heard of that. That actually sounds really posh, actually, because every time we go to a pharmacy, it's a normal pharmacy. Like, they either give you medicine that was already made in a factory, or they don't give you nothing. Y'all are in there literally running a true, like, chemist shop, mixing and combining stuff.
That's like a whole like higher league of pharmacists too, because I've never seen any pharmacists actually like start mixing medications. I see them getting out of the bottles and counting it, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's pharmacies, and then there's Pharmacy Platinum, and this is Pharmacy Platinum right here, which is really cool to hear that you're actually a part of. And so with that, thank you once again for clarifying that, Compound David, and now we are on into the next one.
And Compound David said, yes, I sell drugs. It'd be cool to become a pharmacist just to be able to say, yeah, I sell drugs, and like actually like legitimately mean it.
Turn into Walter White. Jesse, we have to cook. Jesse. Wait, I'm starting to laugh a little bit too much. Jesse, we have to cook. Get in the van. Or whatever that guy said. Who's the guy who did that character?
Well, I don't know.
He was the guy who did the dad in Malcolm in the Middle too,
I still don't know.
I don't know. But Jesse. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one we have goes to Santiago Flores, who puts in a $20 donation. It says, good evening, I'm just joining, and a question from the live chat, please.
And thank you so much for the support, Santiago. That is okay. If you're just joining in, you've only missed some very pertinent, very critical information that probably occurred, I think, 15, 20 minutes ago. That was the reason why we had uncontrollable laughter during the speech. So I know that when you were watching the speech, you're like, why in the world is he laughing so much? If you go back in time, after this becomes a video, and you go back 15 minutes in time from this point or so, you will see why I'm laughing. It's not because of the video itself, it's because of the live chat. But man, it was crazy for a little while. But with that, thank you so much once again for joining in tonight, Santiago Flores. You've been here almost every night, and I got to thank you so much for helping us to keep this thing running. It is viewer support that allows us to keep running. So I got to thank people like you, the viewer, for helping us to keep the Enforcer channel running. And so with that, we are going to be moving on into that live chat. And let's see what we got.
And the live chat question goes to Alex A., who says, how can you survive economically when you're literally surrounded by the enemies?
Who's he talking about, though?
I'm going to assume he's talking about the Russians?
Surrounded by enemies. There's really no way to keep Russia economically afloat, unless they're to try and trade and deal with the much poorer countries of Central Asia, which don't really have a lot to offer monetarily or economically or anything similar. So, I would say, there's really no, you got a good point, like how are they supposed to operate economically, you know what I mean? They're going to suffer. But that's what happens when you're an aggressive nation that doesn't really want to cooperate with anyone else, and you just want to conquer them. everyone starts to become your enemy and no one does business with you. And that's not good because then you can't make money. And if you can't make money, then people can't buy things. And if they can't buy things, the economy starts to plummet. And when the economy starts to plummet, people buy less things. And when they buy less things, they buy less food. And when they buy less food, they go hungry. And when they go hungry, they get angry. And then they start to protest. And when they start to protest, the government starts to get a little worried. And when the government gets worried, they start to crack down on protesters. And when they crack down on protesters, the protesters get violent. And then when the protesters get violent, the government gets violent.
Then the government starts cracking heads.
And then when the government gets violent and starts killing some of the protesters start killing some of the government. And then you have a full blown on civil war or some kind of calamity that leads to the government's collapse. And so, I hope y'all enjoyed that little guideline of how that will go, because you're right. They're not in a good position right now economically. And so with that, I hope that does address that live chat fairly well. And thank you so much, Santiago Flores, for sponsoring that. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And let's see here. Alex A. said, actually, I asked that question when you were talking about Switzerland and fascists. So he's talking about Switzerland.
Oh, so that's a good point. So Switzerland, being neutral, they don't, well, all the way up until now, like right now is really the first time they've ever done anything that breaks neutrality in their definition of neutrality. Even doing something like seizing Russian assets is something that they would have never done before. But back in World War II, Switzerland was like, we are neutral. Do not touch us. We will kill anything that enters our airspace. And they did. They actually shot down a lot of German aircraft in the Second World War and a lot of American aircraft as well, which is very interesting to hear. But anyways, another thing that they would do, because they were neutral and they can't ever show any kind of favor to anyone, is that they would conduct business with just about everyone. Well, actually, they did conduct business with everyone. They conducted business with the United States, France, Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy. The Germans actually kept a lot of gold in Swiss banks. That's just what the Swiss did. And a lot of people sit there and go, oh, that's not right for them to do. You have to remember that ever since 1815, Switzerland has never picked a side. That's why whenever, back in the day, you did something questionable, and it's like, oh crap, I've really screwed up. Everyone in the world's going to want to kill me. You moved to Switzerland. Because Switzerland wasn't going to do anything about you. They were going to go, oh, well, that's not our problem. Just live here. And that was how things were. And that's how things almost always happen. So yes, they did do business with the Germans and the Italians during the Second World War. And some people try and paint that as a bad thing, but at the same time, they would do business with the United States, France, and the occupying forces of Germany after the Second World War like there was no tomorrow. That's just what they do. So with that, I hope that does address that comment fairly well. And they did do business fairly well even then. And also that kind of kept the Germans off their back a little bit too, because the Germans were like, wow, they keep our gold. That's kind of neat. We'll just keep them around. And also it'd be a little bit too difficult to actually invade them and win. And so with that, I hope that does address that properly instead of however we were addressing it with Russia. And with that, we are going to be moving on into the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support. Also, one interesting thing, I have to say, y'all, I think that the Swiss got flack for not giving the Ukrainians Gepard ammo. But that's, military aid, and that really is breaking neutrality, and they're having massive debates within Switzerland right now, whether they should break neutrality or not in that form. And it's actually getting very heated in Switzerland, which is one of the few things that get openly heated. You can go to swissinfo.com. Which is a government-run website in Switzerland. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. I think this is the wrong Swiss info. Let me go to the other one. Swiss info. I think this is the right one. Yeah, right here. So this is kind of like a, not really a government-run website per se. I think it is. Let me check this though. Let's see, this is multilingual, produced by it is government run. It's by the Swiss Broadcasting Corporation, which is their version of the BBC, which is also government run in Britain. So this is very similar to that. They will go through almost every single issue that Switzerland considers to be of concern, and that they will give an unbiased standpoint of how Swiss people are looking at it. So they'll tell you both sides of the coin in each article. They'll go, some people in Switzerland don't like this idea because of these reasons, and some people support it because of these reasons. And there's the conundrum that we're dealing with right now and why everyone thinks this way. So if you ever really want to get a kind of decent look in a short written format about what the Swiss are thinking about certain topics and people who are for it and against it inside of Switzerland, this is probably one of the best places to go. And I think we can probably find something on Ukraine. So let me see.
Mother of Switzerland's first wolf pack is still alive. It must be a slow news day.
I mean, in Switzerland, they'll cover anything. Like, they will. You can just go to this website and find just about anything.
It looks like they might cover like real news from various topics on this channel here.
Yeah, they do. It's really interesting. There's also open forums here, so Swiss people can come on here and debate with each other about what they think is right or wrong in certain aspects. It's really an interesting website. And it really gives you a good insight into Switzerland. The Swiss government and how it works is almost an entirely different creature. You would have to get into a lot of reading and detail outside of this website to know how Switzerland works, because unlike countries like the United States and Britain, where there's a government official who gets the final say on everything and he has to be voted out for anything to kind of change, in Switzerland almost everything can go up to a national referendum. So really every single decision that's ever made in Switzerland has almost been voted on by the entire public through a referendum, although there's people who complain about that and how it works and how some people
that wouldn't work in the U.S., I can tell you that.
Well, and you know, we're not going into that.
But that's politics.
Oh, no, I'm not a crook. But anyways, let's see. I'm trying to see about some. You can see the Ukrainian articles down here, but they're in Ukrainian. You know, I'm trying to find the ones that are in English. So let's see. Dang, I can't find it. Let's see. I can't find it, sadly. Wait a minute. Russian author accuses Switzerland of facilitating Ukraine war. Let's see. Oh, this is all about the war in Ukraine. Let's see. Record number of demos held in the Swiss capital. See, Swiss artists, Switzerland steps up relief aid. Swiss trade with Russia still going strong. Swiss authorities help ease ambulance problems. You can see, you know, anyways, y'all can go here and look at it. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole because I'm not really finding exactly what I'm looking for. But with that, I hope that does address that comment fairly well. Sorry that we misunderstood that earlier. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, I saw somebody say the Swiss Army knife is the, like, redeeming factor of that place. I gotta say, the Swiss Army knife is really cool in, like, theory, and it looks really nice too, but it's actually not really that practical to me, at least. What about you, Enforcer?
I have one. I haven't really used it much. I usually just end up using a conventional pocket knife with just like 2 or 3 blades inside of it. Because the Swiss Army knives, the handles become a little bit too wide for the blades you're using, and then it kind of becomes a little clumsy. But with that, I hope that does answer the question fairly well. And I think there's a decent amount of redeeming things about the Swiss. They're a pretty neat country, in my opinion. There's not really a lot to not like them about. And I gotta be honest, if it's their prerogative to remain neutral, it is just their prerogative. I'm not going to sit there and hold it against them. They've been neutral through everything up till now. If they had decided to be completely neutral through this, I would have gone, you know, because it's like, what would the Swiss really provide in terms of support? You know, they don't have a massive military. They don't even have a lot of funding for their military. Their economy is decent, but it's not really an economy built like any other. It's built on literally doing nothing outside of Switzerland. So, you know, it's like, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal for me. Anyways, but however, I will say this though, if Germany had decided to remain neutral, or the UK or France or the United States, that's an entirely different issue, because those are major players in the game and they have a stake in this. Unlike Switzerland, who doesn't have a stake in literally anything because they've never done anything. So with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $20 super chat from Terrence Custer, who says, does the Russian military use American GPS, or did they ever get their own working? And you'd think it'd be important during the war.
I don't know what kind of GPS they use. Let's pull it up. What kind of GPS does the Russian military use?
GLONASS?
The yes, it is the GLONASS. The operator is Roscosmos, and so it appears that they do have their own version. They do. However, I don't think it'll be operating for long, considering they can't even launch rockets to do anything. So, yeah. So, it may be around for a little while, but if they don't have the ability to launch their own rockets, I don't think they'll have an ability to keep this thing up for longer than several more years, until most of the satellites will probably deorbit themselves, or around a couple of decades from now, the last ones will probably be coming out of orbit. So, with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well, because it looks like they do have their own version, but holy moly. Wow. That looks like a Nokia brick.
Oh, man, that's what they called in on Jurassic Park.
We need fire support. They didn't say that in Jurassic Park, but let's see.
Jurassic Park takes a militaristic turn.
The U.S. Marines show up and just decimate dinosaurs on a day-to-day basis with Abrams tanks.
Calling an A-10.
It just bursts the freaking dinosaurs into oblivion. Knowing Jurassic World, though, the new Jurassic Park, they would probably say, oh no, the Indomitable Rex is completely impervious to APFSDS shells. It has composite skin or something like that, where a tank couldn't destroy it, just to make it even more dramatic. But yeah, they do have their own. We can answer that clearly. They do have their own. There's one of the satellites on the stamp.
Not a bad stamp, but, Russia sucks, so it's not that good.
Yeah, Russia sucks. Also, look at that helicopter. What type of helicopter is that supposed to be?
These are I could have sworn I've seen these images off of how it's made at one point. These look like the images they flash in the intro.
Next up on how it's made, Russian satellites. What the hell does this thing serve a purpose for right here? Is that an antenna or what?
Can't even tell.
I can't even tell either. But anyways, with that, we're on. Also, by the way, that helicopter just looks goofy. I don't know who the hell designed that design for the helicopter, but they
looks like a bus with a rod on the top of it.
Yeah, it does. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $20 super chat from Vance Hicks, who says, Enforcer, I've seen a lot about Russian casualties and Ukrainian civilian casualties. Do we have a handle on Ukrainian military casualties?
We do not. And I thank you for the support, but sadly we have no idea. The last time we heard that was 10,000, but I think that was 6 months into the war, so I would assume it'd be closer to 20,000 or maybe a little over 20,000 at this point dead. But beyond that, we don't really know. We can only take shots in the dark because no one has given an official number on that at all. And so with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well, at least the best we can. And I hate that we don't have that information for you, but I don't want to sit there and say something confidently that we don't even have any backup for. And thank you so much once again for the support, and long live the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And the next one goes to Junebug72, who puts in a $10 donation and says, hello, good work, you two. Thank you. And Slava Ukraine, question to the live feed.
And hello, Junebug. Thank you so much for the support. And also, thank you for being here forever. You have been here forever and ever and ever. And I gotta thank you so much once again for the support and always enjoying our stream. I thank you so much. And I'm glad that you do like it. And so with that, while I sit here and try and battle my jaw, let's get a live chat.
You're battling your jaw.
Yeah, while I was yawning, I was trying to battle to shut it, so that way I didn't just sit there and just have a giant gaping mouth yawning. But anyways, let's get a live chat.
All right, so the live chat question goes to Linda Vickers, who said, who would you pick to play Zelensky if a movie was made? Let's see. Tom Hanks is playing everyone these days, so give him the role again. Or Tom Cruise, probably, honestly.
I think if I had to have someone play the role of Zelensky, it would be me. Вічна слава Ілійським, Ілічуть, слава Україні. I said that wrong, I think.
Who's the guy that plays in all the gangster movies? Who was it? What's his name? Devil's Advocate guy, the lead actor. Well, he's a very famous, but I can't remember his name. Why the hell can I remember that?
I don't know. I don't know any actors. Like Vin Diesel?
No, hell no. It's not Vin Diesel. It's that famous... Dang, why can I not remember his name? He's really well known. Let me pull it up. I gotta know. Devil's Advocate cast. Al Pacino, that's who.
We're gonna blow him up. We're gonna get him the right way.
Say hello to my little friend.
Say hello to my. Wait a minute, that would actually work though.
It would.
Oh man.
Al Pacino's too bad he's hurt. What happened to him?
What?
I didn't know he was hurt.
Also, Linda, I can't control what people say in the live chat. I didn't say anything. We didn't say anything on the channel. I'm sorry about that, but we can't control everyone. And I'm not gonna. I can't ban everyone either. You know, so it is what it is. But anyways, let's see. A lot of people are saying Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Listen, Dwayne The Rock Johnson can only play one character. Y'all ever watch the movie The Jungle Cruise? Like, he can only play that character in any movie he's in. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, like, maybe. Let's see here. Who could play it?
Oh, Jeremy Renner is hurt. He wasn't talking about Al Pacino.
Oh.
Yeah, that was really a shame. He got in a snowmobile accident the same day that Ken Block died.
Why the hell is everyone getting in snowmobile accidents?
It's that time of year. Everybody loves to go in the snow.
Owen
Or
Wilson.
snow remover accident, he says. Or I don't know, snow remover. I thought it was a snowmobile accident.
Man, someone said Owen Wilson. They burst open the doors of the president's office. Sir, we're at war. Wow.
I was at the guy that's in all those memes that are around right now.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller and that guy.
Yeah.
Those are so annoying.
Yeah, I know. I hate honestly, that meme format's kind of lame. Or as they say these days, kind of mid. But let's see. Keanu Reeves? Yeah, I mean, I think he could. Steven Seagal.
Oh.
Oh.
I saw that Steven Seagal sent Andrew Tate a board to hit with his hand, and he was like all into it and stuff, thinking that it was going to actually like strengthen his strength and his like fists.
What?
Yeah, like oh gosh, con men attract each other. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, on top of that, it's not really a good look when you're always talking about the grind set, and then you figure out that he's like a pimp in Romania. You know, it's like that's not really a good look. Just being honest, little skis. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta be honest with y'all. This guy right here, the Andrew Tate guy, just, you know, having an honest aside here, not about the war. The Andrew Tate guy is like the modern version of Ty Lopez. Like the exact same thing here on my garage. Just bought this brand new Lamborghini. But you know what I like better than this brand new Lamborghini? Knowledge. You know, it's like the same thing, just with a different theming, a different format. It's like the same ordeal all over again. So gotta be honest with you, I'm not really a big fan of that guy just for that reason. And also, what the hell's up with the whole thing he was doing? Like, none of it ever made any sense, and it was just like his whole thing was like, get rich and be a butthole to people, and you know that's cool. Like, it's like, why? You know, that's just rude. But anyways, we are on to the next one. We're going down a rabbit hole here.
All right. So on to the next one. And also, let's see here. We did answer that live chat question, didn't we?
Reread again just to make sure.
Good work, you two, and thank you. And question from the chat.
I don't think did we get the question from the chat?
Let's see. Let me look through here. I don't think we did.
Let's get a live chat then. If we already got one, we'll get a second one.
All right. So the question this time goes to Azure Skies, who says, how are the tanks that South Korea sent performing in Ukraine?
Wait, we did get the live chat, Matthew. It was about who would be the best actor to play Zelensky.
Oh, that's right. Well, guess what, Azure? You get a free question right now very early.
Yeah, you do. So let's hear it again.
How are the tanks that South Korea sent performing in Ukraine?
I don't think they've sent any, because we haven't seen them on film or any proof of them being there. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to declare ignorance on that one, because if they have sent them, I've never seen them or heard of them. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And the next one goes to Sean White, who puts in a $10 donation and says, hello from that Montana missile base you looked at last week. Missiles live in launch sites already across a giant 13,000-mile complex here, the size of Washington or WVA. Wiki 341MW. It'll show you the sites.
And thank you so much for the support. And I like how he makes it sound like the missiles are living. They live within bunkers in the ground.
They're alive.
They're alive, Mr. Smith. They're alive.
We had to specify that they're alive now that Russia's in play, because theirs are dead. Don't want to get them confused with those fake dead ones.
But of course, life springs from the bunkers as the missiles come out for spawning season.
And then you start playing that music, you know, like that little oboe.
They eat a diet of nothing but berries.
You know, like the silly music or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're a little clumsy.
And then you show one of them falling over as something cute.
But these missiles, they have a much more potent side to them. Of course, we are talking about the city of St. Petersburg. Bum, 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 bum. The city of St. Petersburg is an absolute bane upon the existence of the habitat of Europe.
You know, like all that crap. But anyways, getting past my whole thing of doing a David Attenborough, let's pull that thing. What was the base called again? Can we Google it real quick?
The base is called that Montana Missile Base, and Wiki 341MW. It'll show you the sites.
M41.
341MW.
34. Oh, I got the numbers wrong. 341. 341. MW.
Montana Missile Base.
I think I found it. I found it, boss. Let's see here. We got the 341st Missile.
I think we've looked at this before.
I don't think we have. I gotta be honest with you. I don't think we have, but that's pretty cool looking. Look at that. They got a neat little blacked out truck. Everything's blacked out. They had to make it themed, thematic. Let's see here. What else we got? What else we got, huh? Let's see here. Not a lot on the Wikipedia. Let's look at the locations. Right now we're on an FBI watch list. What are they doing looking at this on the internet? Neat. Pretty neat. That looks like the missile silo right there. Let's see. Oh, here we go. So, here's all of them. This is all of them right here. And there's Maelstrom Air Force Base. So let's go to Maelstrom. Right here. And then we go out here. So there's Great Falls. All right. So now we have the treasure hunting map. So we need to go to Belt. That's what
All these locations are supposed to be secret.
Nah, they're open to the public. They had to be listed due to a treaty. Let's see here. There it is. We found one right here. There it is. So there's a missile. And it's just right outside of Belt. That's what my father always told me I would get for Christmas if I didn't behave, was the Belt. Moving on from that one, let's get back to the map and let's see what else we got out here. Let's see, near Geyser, there's two of them, the B08 and the B07. So let's go take a look at those, and let's see if they look a little different. Also, let me make sure it's down near Geyser. So, it's right near the highway, too. So, that's not one of them. That's not one of them. Should be... Here we go. There's another one. Right there. Look at that. Pretty cool. That's really neat, actually. You can just pull right off the highway and straight up to a nuclear missile.
And then a Humvee will come racing down the street after you.
What are you doing? You know, just freak out. So let's go down here.
Get out with the AR-15 with the like flag in the chamber and no rounds in the mag.
With a bunch of green beans shoved in the magazine. What are you doing out here? And then here's the other one. So you got two of them near Geyser. You can kind of see them a little bit from out here. There's that one. There's that one. Pretty cool, actually. I didn't know that they were spread out like that. Across such a massive area, but I guess that would make sense when you really think about it. Instead of having them all kind of like sat side by side, like it's a cruise, a missile cruiser, like the Ticonderoga, which is what I was thinking they were laid out like. But with that,
pencil.
Yeah, the Ticonderoga is a pretty good pencil as well. But with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And thank you so much for the support and letting us know a little bit more information about what that is and how that really works in a way. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And the next one goes to Sean White, who puts in a $10 super chat and says, hello. Oh, wait a minute. Well, I just read that one off. I didn't put the red check on it. Sorry about this, Sean. Up next, we have a $10 super chat from Badger Resistance, who says, how many sleepy Russians will the Bradley add to the daily total? And will the fire rate of the TOW missile make a difference versus the 10 seconds it takes for Soviet tank to load and fire?
I do believe it will make a difference because, one, the TOW explodes over the top of a tank, and as long as the tank does not see the Bradley first, the Bradley will have the upper hand and will be able to destroy it with ease. The TOW-2Bs allow for that to happen without much of an issue. So I think that it definitely will have a decent advantage over Soviet tanks, and I don't think we'll be seeing it adding a lot of infantry to the list. As a whole, we're not going to see it add a whole other extra 100 a day. Once it's introduced, it'll probably just be like an extra 10 or 20 Russian soldiers killed a day by Bradleys, maybe even less than that. We'll probably see that more tanks and armored personnel carriers are being lost due to the Bradley being able to destroy them with the TOW missiles. And so with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Greg Carmen, who says, what are the Russian equipment losses due to recently? Is it artillery or direct fire?
Mostly artillery from what we can tell, especially in the Bachmut area. A lot of the infantry losses are being caused by artillery of different kinds, whether it be mortars, howitzers, or drone bomblets. It's an artillery of a form. So we've been seeing that a lot. Direct fire appears to be less and less as the war keeps going on. The front lines become static, which is in line with most historical precedents for modern wars in the 20th century. Artillery is the main killer of infantry forces. And I think if we go back to World War I, deaths by weapon, I believe the largest amount of deaths were caused by artillery. Yeah. So let's see if we can go to the Encyclopedia Britannica, and it looks like they may have a breakdown here. You know what's interesting to me and what kind of funny? They say the bayonet, which was relied on by the pre-war French army as a decisive weapon, actually produced few casualties. Historically, bayonets produced very little casualties because and of course this is due to historical precedent and historical accounts at the time. Usually, units would not face each other in bayonet charges. Either a unit would break up in the middle of a bayonet charge and lose its morale and its cohesion as they were charging an enemy force, or the force that they were charging would turn around and run before a melee began. It was very rare most of the time for actual melees to occur in between units, and so by and large, bayonets usually always occurred for a very small amount of casualties by and large. I'm not talking about, like, I guess you could say the late 1600s and the very, very, very early 1700s. That's kind of a different time. I still consider that a transitional era between pike and shot, so melee was still common. But beyond that, when melee started to become a little bit less common and the amount of ground in between units started to get a little bit further out, like 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards, then you started to see that bayonet casualties and fatalities, from what we can tell and from what first-hand accounts speak of, was less. So that's not really that different in the First World War either, although the Encyclopedia Britannica makes it sound like it is different. Let's see, most deaths in World War I. Here we go. 60% of the battlefield casualties in World War I were caused by artillery shells. Shrapnel wounds were particularly brutal, and that's what we're seeing right now. And if we go into the Second World War, World War II deaths by weapon. Let's see. What weapon caused the most deaths in World War II? Machine? I don't know about that. Weapons of the Western Front. That seems as though it's almost talking about... If I'm not mistaken, that's a picture from the First World War. It is. Why in the world would they show us that? That doesn't make any sense. Let me go back and find another one for World War II. Let's see here. Causes of battle casualties, most terrifying weapons. We're looking for some stats here. Come on. Come on. We'll go to the NCBI. Let's see here. Objectives. Results. When firearms are used against people who are immobilized and wait, hang on. During the fighting of war, the number of people wounded is at least twice the number killed and maybe 13 times as high. This ratio of the number of wounded to the number killed results from the impact of a weapon system on human beings in the particular context of war. When firearms are used against people who are immobilized in confined space or unable to defend themselves, the wounded killed ratio has been lower than 1 or even 0. Like, that's even a no-brainer, you know? Like, I don't know why they had to say it like that. But anyways... Let's see here. Introduction, methods, results. Wounded to kill. Okay, that's going over wounded to kill ratios. Let's see here. Also, this is very interesting. They're actually going over different eras in time, not just World War II, and they're showing the wounded to kill ratio each time. And I don't know why, but they put in the St. Valentine's Day massacre as a actual thing that they accounted for, which doesn't make any sense, because that's not even close to that's not close at all to being like a war or anything similar. And do you know about the St. Valentine's massacre, Matthew?
I didn't even know.
It happened in 1929 when the mafia was like running Chicago, and 4 mafia guys, well, we're assuming they're mafia guys, we don't really know, but 2 cops came into the building and told these guys in this auto shop, there was 6 of these guys, and then another guy sleeping inside of a car. They told the 6 guys to stand up on the wall, they'll stand against the wall, with their backs turned towards them, you know, their faces facing towards the wall. And then 2 other guys, from what they know, came into the room with Tommy guns, hosed these 6 guys down and killed them. The police officers went up to them and shot everyone in the head. And then they walked back out of the building. The cops had their guns pointed into the backs of the guys with the Tommy guns, and they got in the car outside and they drove off. So no one really knows why it happened, who did it, or anything, because no one ever spoke or ever peeped up about why that really happened or what was the purpose. But we're assuming it was a hit from one mob on the next, and out of it all, the guy who was sleeping in the car, I think they shot him in like the leg or something, and they thought they killed him and they left. But he ended up living. Wait, no, I'm sorry. They actually got the guy out of the car. They told him to get out of the car on the wall. They shot him all. I think that guy took like 9 bullet wounds, like he got hit 9 times and he died in the hospital a couple of days later. So he kind of ended up dying, but at the point of the shooting he was just wounded. So you can see the wounded to kill ratio was 0.17, which is very off, you know. Like, and also if you look at the Katyn Forest massacre, which also happened in World War II, nobody was wounded, everyone got killed. It was a massacre. 4,143 people were killed. If you look at wait a minute. Actually, these are mass shootings. I'm sorry. That's why that's here. They're calling them mass shootings. So let me go up here to the Second World War, and we can look at Vietnam. Wounded kill ratio in Vietnam for the Marine Corps was 4.0. So every 4 wounded people, there was a dead person. Or for every dead person, there was 4 wounded people. You can look at, wow, Northern Ireland. 300 British soldiers got killed in Northern Ireland. Wow, that's actually pretty high. I didn't think it was that high. But they had a wound to kill ratio of 5.7. For every dead person, there was about 6 people that were wounded.
Huh.
And that's how you get those figures. We're assuming that in Ukraine is close to about 3, because that's like kind of like a running average. In most wars is around 3. But in some places, like in Jakarta, with the fighting and the riots and everything, you can get all the way up to 45. For every 1 person killed, there were 45 people wounded. But that's not really a war, that's more of a riot. Anyways, why in the world did that sound like I was talking about a party, Matthew? I was like, gee, what a riot. But anyways, with that, I hope that explains the question fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and real quick, the poll went up. Let's see. Big news there. Can't discuss those politics. But anyways, question on the poll says, who should play Zelensky in the movie about the Ukraine-Russia war? Choose best option. 40%, which is the most popular option, said Matt Damon. Interesting. 23% said Cillian Murphy. 19% said Al Pacino, and 19% said Tom Cruise. My vote went toward Cillian Murphy. I think he might play a good Zelensky. Maybe if you can get the voice down correctly. But look, that vote just went up for that choice. Now that I said that, but Enforcer, what say you?
I would honestly say Matt Damon's hilarious, because I always think of that guy, Matthew, who was running for that mayoral election somewhere in the United States, and he got on the TV. You know, he just walked in there. I was not allowed on the debate, and then the security guard came in. He said, "Come on, Matt Damon," and that's what I think of every time I think of Matt Damon. Now is that guy saying that. I forgot what the whole context was behind that and everything, but I don't really know any of these actors, to be honest with you. So I don't even know. I'd really have to leave no out, because I don't really know who they are.
Yeah, that's true. I guess so. You're unsure then.
I guess I'm unsure. I'm one of those people, Matthew, you can't stand that go, why didn't you put an unsure option? Why didn't you put a 5th option?
There's no option for a fifth. I can only put 4.
There's a 100-word limit on the polls, and there's also it only allows us to put 4 options as the max. That's why sometimes the polls are worded in ways that aren't really clear, and also that's why there isn't sometimes enough options to account for everything. But with that, we're on to the next one.
And also, this isn't really political, but the party in the United States is over. That whole mess in Congress is done with. But anyways, up next, we have a $25 super chat from Avari Mandubratis, who's... Oh, are you okay?
Yes, I dropped a quarter, sorry.
Oh, it sounded like a disaster occurred over there, but Avari says, can you do an Orange Man versus Vermont Man argument over property values in the 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group Boneyard? Cheers.
What the? That's so specific.
That's very specific.
Oh my god. Let's see.
Is Avari a real estate agent that wants to like play this back whenever he shows up for the negotiations?
Wait. Give me the name of that again. I need to pull this up on Google Maps.
309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group Boneyard. Damn, a marg.
Arg, it's a plain boneyard. Look at this. Wow, there's so many Orions out here. Oh my god, it's a C5 Galaxy. And a B1 Lancer. And a B-52. Oh, wow, there's a lot of cool crap out here. This is almost like a museum of stuff. Wow, dang, they have everything. 1 second, everyone. Allow me to gawk on this.
Oh, an A10 sitting out there in the middle.
And a Canberra.
Oh, yeah.
Why do they have a Canberra?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Why are you asking me, man? What in the world? This place has got everything. Man. Wow. I feel like that guy, you know, the guy who got told his wife was pregnant and he went, oh my god, wow. You know, I feel like that right now.
Wow.
Oh my god. But anyways, wow, I'm really blown away by this. Anything and everything on Earth. It's all right here. This is like the Walmart of airplanes. Look at all the C5s.
Does this work like a pull apart? Like you can just show up and like go find some parts off of it and take it home with you?
I guess. Is this where all of our C5 Galaxies are? They just sit out here? I don't think so. But wow. They're breaking up these B-52s. I feel sorry for that. They got F-15s. Wow, that's a lot of F-15s. Imagine all of the money that went into building these things, and then they just eventually reach their shelf life, and we just have to go and scrap them. I mean, that's crazy. When you really
I'd say run them until the landing gear falls off. Why we got them sitting in the field for?
Man, look at all these A-10s. Look at all these F-16s.
And it is, and Misk77 said it's very OCD friendly. I was thinking that too. I was looking at it thinking this is very satisfying. It reminds me of like a model collection, but out in a big like sand field.
Oh man, dude, I could really look at this for quite a while here. Where is this, by the way? Tucson, Arizona. Wow, Tucson's got it going on. They also, oh wow, what? This is the Border Patrol people. They're on the base, I think.
Wait a minute, Border Patrol?
Yeah, they got this giant compound over here. Yeah, this whole thing is Border Patrol.
Dang, they got a lot of trucks.
Yeah, they got a lot of trucks. And not only do they have a lot of trucks, they got a lot of square footage. Like, jeez. Good lord. Like, that's like a whole, like, mega compound right there. Like, especially for what you would think the Border Patrol would have. That's, like, huge. But...
And Colleen said we can drive around and see them all. I would love to do that.
They've got A-10s in cages. They literally do.
Oh, set them free. Free the A-10s.
Oh, look at those F-16s. Wow. Man.
You see, Enforcer, that's how dangerous A-10s are. You can't just leave them sitting on the runway. You have to cage them up because if you don't, they're going to go on the loose. They're wild animals.
And whenever the A-10s land here, the pilot has to get out and go, kennel, and then they go into the kennel.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, let's get to the task at hand, Avari. We're going to get to the voicing. So, I think the fiscal responsibility of the United States is to continue to make sure that we can have aircraft in a storage facility. I disagree. It is the fundamental right of an American to have military aircraft. The top 1% of this country owns all of this nation's military aircraft. We need universal aircraft distribution.
There doesn't need to be a single site. We need one in every state where every citizen can have an aircraft. Listen, man, I think that's cool and all, but we've got to build a boneyard, and the bones have got to pay for it. We're going to make it huge. It's going to be the biggest that's ever been seen. I don't know that guy, but I'm talking huge. It's going to be absolutely impressive. Listen, my boy Donald. This is actually a bad bunny. This sounds more like that other guy from the from the Northeast. But y'all don't know who I'm talking about.
Bad bunny. Bad bunny.
Bad bunny. This is a very bad bunny, but I'm not going political, but I'm just saying, why is spaghetti considered a pasta when it's more like a cereal? We need to put planes in the boneyard in the planes, bones, 206 in the male body. But I'm talking boneyard. Listen, Donald, that makes a lot of sense. But what I'm saying here is that we need to make sure that the Americans are provided for.
But anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. I don't really know how to talk about that in detail because that was so super specific. It's like, how in the world do I really tackle that with the voices? But I do thank you so much once again for the support of Ari. You are always here and always helping this channel to keep on running. And I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that met the criteria, at least somewhat. Although I didn't really know what I was talking about at all, to be honest. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $10 super chat from Walter A. Lakota Jr., who says, Aloha, the Enforcer Matt, and LSA from OG Ellison Bosun. It seems that something is up. UAF, that'll make a major impact on the Southern Front. It'll probably be around the 1 year of this war.
Oh, some information you have, Walter, that we don't? Oh. Well, I would say that that's not unlikely. We do know that there are two likely directions that they'll move in, and that is definitely one of them. And I will be waiting to see which one it is, and I have my own bets on what it is, but I'm not going to say it here due to OPSEC. But I do thank you so much once again for the support, and we will see, Walter. And also, thank you for being the LSN OG bosun. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Frostbright Productions, who puts in a $10 donation and says, Happy New Year's, LSA. I'm so sorry I haven't been around as much. The ongoing war has been rather upsetting for me, and I just needed time to reflect. I'd like to sponsor a live chat question for the segment.
And thank you so much for the support, and that's totally fine. Everyone has to take a break every once in a while, and I highly encourage it if it's getting to you. And I hope that this channel makes it easier to watch the news, because I don't think a lot of the critics who talk about our light tone understand that the light tone is one for me to cope with this every single day, and also for y'all to be able to bear the news without just going into panic attacks every day. Because, this stuff is training. It's very stressful to think about. And I don't want people to leave the stream feeling worse off and more stressed out about it than they already were. And also, sometimes it's not even warranted. And so I hope that you can watch our stream and that it's funny enough, or well, not really funny enough, at least good enough to not really make it feel like it's too serious or too overburdensome or stressful to really think about, because we never want anyone to feel like that in particular about this whole thing. But with that, I thank you so much for the support. Welcome back, and I hope you stay back. But if you can't, that's fine. I understand. But with that, let's get to a live chat question.
And the live chat question is going to go to Lenati69, who says, Have you guys heard anything about the Ukrainians' usage of the salt tunnels in Soledar? Apparently, they're using them to get behind Russian lines, sabotage, and then return.
Yes, they are. We have heard about that a little bit, and it is very interesting to hear, but I don't really have a lot of video evidence to talk about it, so it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's super cool to hear that they're doing, but there's not really a lot for us to talk or add to it. There is a salt mine here that you can actually go to as kind of like a museum thing. We looked at this thing before, and it's super cool. Like, the whole thing is just salt. Nothing but salt. I feel like the Russians will feel right at home here with the amount of salt that they have on a daily basis, so they'll probably love this place just fine. Also, I'm sure, being honest with y'all, if they ever do take this salt mine, they will probably come in here and destroy or deface every single one of these little monuments made inside the salt, just because they're sick like that. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well, and we'll see if we can try and get some videos of that sometime around. And maybe one day when the war is over, we will go there and sleep in the Salt hotel room.
Oh, I've seen this on, I think, Mr. Beast, I think.
What?
I think I've seen that.
You know,
somebody stayed in the Salt hotel somewhere, sometime or something.
Did you notice that we didn't have our stream connectivity thrown around whenever we said Mr. West the last time?
Yeah, I think that's just a bunch of hoax that we came up with.
Yeah, but it was very coincidental that each time we would say it, it would happen. You know, it was almost like there was a greater power watching out there. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a question. Oh, actually, not a question. We have a super chat from Andre Mogasan, who puts in a $10 donation and says, any chance you can cover some stuff from Hromotsky? It's a Ukrainian channel that has probably the best no BS reporting with English subs as well.
We probably could. I don't think we could tonight. I'll try and see if I can integrate them into a new segment sometime in the future. But I'm always looking for people that are interviewing folks on the ground that are just living their lives, because they usually show us some pretty interesting insight that we don't really get otherwise. So I will be making sure to look out for their videos and try and put them on the stream, and hopefully we can give them a shout out then and have people go over there and watch it if it is pretty good. I don't think we've watched a video from their channel specifically yet, but I will be on the lookout for them. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one is going to go to E3ECO, who puts in a $10 donation and says half a pizza.
And thank you for the half pizza. Thank you so much. We actually like the Costco's pizza. At least I think the last time I checked, Matthew liked the Costco pizza. Do you?
Not really anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a fad.
For some reason, it's a little bit like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what it is about. Are you talking about the frozen type or the type you get from their little deli area?
From the store.
Well, I mean, both come from the store. Which
yeah,
one?
But the one fresh from the store. You know, the one cooked in the store.
Oh, that one's okay, but the one in the freezer is bad.
Yeah, the one in the freezer is not really that great, I'll admit. But the one that you can get at the store, oh, it's so good. And the hot dogs, oh, they're delicious. They're made out of everything, but they're so good. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support for the half pizza, and we'll make sure to get one from Costco's. We're not sponsored by Costco's, but I like the pizza. If a Costco sponsor is watching, you know who to email. We don't take sponsors.
I've never seen Costco sponsor anybody, actually.
What in the world was that noise that your throat just made? I heard it on stream. You're like, I haven't ever seen
That was
Costco.
my cough drop. I was sitting over here trying to like chew my cough drop.
You sounded like a frog, man. You're like, I don't think it's Costco sponsors anyone. Ribbit. And I was like, what? But anyways, I thank you so much once again for support. I hope we addressed the comment fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $10 super chat from Heather Fitzgibbon. And Heather doesn't leave a comment. But Heather, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Heather, for the support. Thank you for being here for a very long time. And we appreciate it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
Enforcer, what say you? Thank you so much for the support. It does mean a lot to us. It helps this channel to keep on running. So thank you so much once again. You are helping this thing to keep on going, and you've been here forever. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support.
All right, and up next, we have a $10 super chat from Avari Mendibratis. Once again, who says, how effective have older mechanized vehicles been in evacuating wounded Ukrainian soldiers to get medical treatment? Have you seen videos on what their process is and their effectiveness?
We haven't seen a lot of videos on the entire process and the effectiveness. We usually just see them tending to people as a singular video or evacuating them in a vehicle as another singular video. We never get to see the entire process and how effective it is from start to finish. But we do know that the older vehicles have been somewhat capable, like civilian cars, MTLBs, and such things like that. And maybe even some of the older Scooby-Doo vans are somewhat competent in getting people out. But one thing that they do not provide for the most part is any kind of ballistic protection, which can protect them a little bit more. And we know that with the armored cars that are being provided, sometimes they're using those as medevacs, and they are a little bit more safer due to the fact of their increased armor. And so with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well of our Amanda Bros. But sadly, we don't really get a lot of straight info, footage, and data to talk about medical evacs on the older vehicles in particular. But with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
And we have another super chat from Andre Mogusan, who puts in a $10 donation and says, related to the museums discussion 2 days ago, maybe? I'd recommend you visit the Speyer and Sinsheim museums. Could also drop by the German, let's see here, Regensbunker. I mispronounced the hell out of that, but you know what I mean.
And Speyer in what museum? And how do you spell it?
Speyer and Sinsheim. It's S Sins like Sins, Heim, Heim.
Is this it?
No, Sins, not Sens.
Well, you said send, like send. Like, that didn't make any sense.
Sins.
Here
like
we go.
Sins.
Holy moly. Is that a
Lufthansa.
full-scale 747?
1-to-1 scale.
And they have a mock-up space shuttle? That is not a space shuttle. What the hell is that?
This is the new improved one. It looks like it's made out of Legos or something.
Shuttle 2.0. They got a DC-3. They also have a boxcar. Pretty cool. Let's see, what do they have in here? Ooh, a Mirage 3. I don't know which one. The J-35. Really cool. I love that plane. I was just talking about that one about a couple of months ago. The 747.
Do they have that floating bell thing in here?
Oh, no. You're talking about that, like, UFO thing that they say, oh, it existed, and it never did.
Yeah, the one that the American soldiers supposedly ran up on and they could never find it again.
Yeah. They, well, if they never found it again, how in the world would they have it at the museum? Checkmate.
Good question.
Destroying Matthew's question with facts and logic.
That sounds like somebody else.
Wait,
what do you have to say? Yeah, something else.
I was about to do that, Matthew. How in the world would they have it in the museum if they haven't found it? Thanks. That's what it is. Here's the 747 again. Also, once again, an Apollo lander, because every museum is not complete without one. They also have an Antonov 22, because East Germany was the thing. They have an Su-23, I think, F-11 Voodoo, and an F-15.
Oh, that's what it was called. It was called the Glock. Said positive vibes. It was the Bell, the Glock. Also, that's what you call my pistol in Alabama when you're packing. You call it the Glock.
Let me...
I'm gonna take the Glock with me out on the block.
So you see, there's no pictures of this thing. No one really knows if it ever existed, and it's I don't get into stuff like that. That's like the freaking Boston Project or whatever it was where the destroyer disappeared. There's no proof. Anyways, back to the submarine. Oh man, that's actually really cool. They just got everything here. Woo!
Oh wow, I like that a lot. That's a nice Merc.
Wow, they got even better cars over there.
What model is this one? I can't even tell. Oh, an SL. Do you see that one?
Oh, I was looking at the Junkers Ju-52 hanging from the ceiling, but yeah, that's really cool.
That's really cool. I love that. That is like classic.
Wow.
Such class.
This thing is spicy. But let's move on from that and down on the submarine again. Everyone loves taking pictures of that submarine and also the Mi-24. That thing's had better days at this point, and it wasn't Mi-24P. You can see where the gun used to be, but they took the gun out. What else did they got? They got an RAF aircraft. I don't know which one that is, what class. Oh, wow, look at that!
Oh my goodness. This is a nice museum here.
This is a museum for the books, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, look at that old Lufthansa plane. I didn't even know they existed that long ago.
Ah, dude, they've
up one higher. Oh, there it is, right there, down below it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, man. Like, dang. Until you get up one more. But let's see what else they got. Man, I'm really liking this museum. They got a C1. Oh, no, it's not a C-130. I forgot what that is. Like the class of plane that is. But someone will tell us. What else?
Andre Mogusan said, Sinsheim has a Concorde and its Soviet inbred cousin, the Konkordsky.
You're talking about, I believe, the Tu-144. Yeah. The Concorde. Ooh. The stupid stepchild of the Concorde.
Looked like it had a Chinese flag on the back of it right there. They literally just rip off everything.
Matthew, that's the Soviet flag.
Looks like a Chinese one.
They look very sim. They look very similar. Like here you go. Soviet flag, Chinese flag. It looks like a Chinese flag.
And it could be the Chinese flag then.
No, no. But let me see here. Let me try and show you some of this. There it is. This isn't this I believe 2007. Oh, this thing may have lasted longer than the Concorde by a hair. Well, at least it lived, I guess. That's an ugly version of it. These things are so ugly. I mean, like, this is like the ugliest thing. Concorde looked good. This thing is just hideous. Ew. Anyways, let's get back to the museum. I don't like this thing. It's ugly, so let's get back to the museum. They have a Japanese... Wait a minute, is this a Japanese train? Where in the world do you get a Japanese train from?
From Japan?
Alright, that's it. We're done. Good night, everyone. Oh, man. An F4... We're gonna have to move on because all the pictures are the same, but except for this one. It's a MiG-23 with an eagle painted onto it.
That's supposed to be an eagle?
I think so. That is a really goofy looking eagle though. Wow, they got so much. Look, they even have a drop tank, I'm guessing. I guess that's a drop tank, or that's some kind of a deformed spud. I don't know. Woo! Jet turbines. Wow. Man,
that's pretty cool.
They're really going all out at this museum. I'll tell you what. That boy ain't right. But that is really neat. I like this museum. Maybe one day we'll go here. It looks top notch. High quality. They even have a Blue Angels F4 Phantom.
Oh, that's weird. Why would they have that?
Because they can. But anyways, let's go to the other thing that he requested for us to go to beyond the museum.
Also dropped by the German Regierungsbunker.
Can you spell that for me?
No, but I can copy and paste into the live chat.
All right, that no was very, very firm. No.
Wait a minute, hold on. I left out a letter. Hold on a second. There.
Let's see. Let me copy that. Let me paste it. Let's find this thing. All right, so where is this in the world? This is in West Germany, in the Rhine. So let's take a look. It's a big concrete door here. Let's see here. What else they got? They got generators. They've got tunnel. Big tunnel. Really
Tunnel
big
looks
tunnel.
menacing.
They have film station.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, this must have been a nuclear control bunker. Not for nuclear weapons for Germany, but probably something in case if Germany got nuked. It was, I'm assuming, something that the government, I guess, would go to. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. I'm taking shots in the dark here. We'll read about it in a second, but really neat looking. Also very apocalyptic looking. I love the suit. Imagine walking into a press conference one day with that thing on. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be afraid. I have only suffered a lethal dose of radiation. It is not transmittable, but it is. Also, I like this guy. He looks like me. But anyways, let's get some information on what the hell this thing is. Copy. Best. It's the government bunker.
Documentation stat.
So let's see. The government bunker. Officially named Auschwitz.
Oh.
They're the Fransur. I can't even say that, man. That's too long. Too long. But yes, it's literally exactly what I said. I somehow got it right. It is a bunker to ensure that the government can continue to run and exist in the event of a nuclear attack. That's really weird and kind of crazy.
I was saying, how's that place pronounced again?
It's pronounced Auschwitz. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's very similar to something else. It seems it looks like the spelling is also somewhat similar. I'm assuming that I don't know. Anyways, with that, we're on to the next one. I don't really have an explanation for that, but we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Avari Mandubratis once again, who puts in a $10 donation and says, one more. Orange Man versus VT Man, bidding war on the house featured in Downtown Abbey, but privately. Neither can afford it outright, but together they could. I had a depressing week, but you improved it.
Thank you, Avari. And also, who was the VT man?
VT. I'm not. Is that a character from Downtown Abbey?
Avari, can you clarify who VT man is before we do this, so that way I make sure the VT man's right? Let's see. Well, I'll just type it in real quick. VT man.
That guy? Vermont man?
Vermont man arrested for threatening daughter's school. I didn't do nothing wrong, man.
What did they draw the measuring stick on the wall behind it? Looks like a 5-year-old drew it.
Yeah. Oh man, that's scary. Also, this guy's hairline is frightening. Who does his hair? Vermont man. Oh, again? Again? All right. Listen, I know we're trying to both buy the same house. It's mine. Listen here. Half of my wealth is going into this building. Listen, man, we both know you're not getting rich. You haven't asked people on YouTube for donations. Also, buy my NFTs. You can go to my website, 99. Anyways, you don't have the money. Listen, Donald, you don't have the money either. Okay, you're right. All right. I can't even fly the airplane anymore. That's why we're selling the baseball cards. They're special, by the way. Go to my website, buy them. I look like Superman on one of them. It's huge. But anyways, I need to get this house. You're right, Donald. But how do we do it? Listen, I think we need a universal plan. Like you say. Right, I do say that. We need a universal plan to buy this house together. I would be the 51% stakeholder. Wait a minute. That's not fair. And you know my whole campaign is on fairness. We got to do this thing 50-50. No, it's got to be 51. I got to be the one in charge. Nothing I've ever run has ever gone bankrupt before. You're kind of right on that. Nothing you've ever run has ever been a financial disaster. But I do have to say that it's got to be 50-50. No way. Listen, man, I don't trust you. If we do 50-50, next thing you're going to be asking for is 75%. I'm not doing it. Listen, man, you've got the small hands you can't even sign the contract with. I got giant hands. They're larger than average size. You can see that on the magazine. You look at the magazine.
Hey, Bernie. It's Kevin McCarthy here. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, God. You're the thing of my nightmares. You scared the hell out of me.
Okay.
Well, are you going to continue on, Matthew? Are you just going to hop in
no,
and
it's
just
supposed to
say
end.
Oh, okay. Well, Matthew just hopped in to start a whole dialogue and then just kills it. Are you there? Hello? I need to be for a minute. Anyways, thank you so much for the support, Avari. And I hope that does make it a little bit better. I hope that does make your week a little bit better. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support. And I hope that did appease you. And so with that, on to the next one.
Muhammad Ali McCarthy won the 15th round. Anyways, moving on to our next one. We have a $7 super chat from Alan Sanderson, who says, stream idea, enforces digressions in Wonderland, a 24-hour charity rabbit hole stream. Every big donation gets a rabbit hole discussion.
Yeah, I think that would, well, man, if I did that though and it really blew up, there could be like 1,000 donations and I have to make a rabbit hole for each one. And I don't even think I have that many rabbit holes to go over. But I could do rabbit holes just endlessly. It just could be like fun facts or something like that. But yeah, I think that might be a neat idea, actually. That's not that bad. And so I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $7 super chat from Rocco World Domination, who says, the pictures of the salt mine reminded me of the potash mine. I worked in Saskatchewan. Most of the ground layer we are in is salt, and it looks exactly like the pictures of the salt mine in Ukraine.
And that is really cool to hear. We have a miner in here. And also, potash. It's a salt that contains potassium, This is Himalayan pink salt. We've been lied to, Matthew. It doesn't come from Himalaya. It's potash.
Oh. Potash. Is it potash or potash?
I think it's potash. It's
Oh,
potash.
damn.
We're idiots. We're stupid. Also, it's not edible, apparently. I have a feeling, though.
Oh, mainly comes from Canada, too.
It mainly comes from Canada. So this man is supporting Canada's industry. And also, that is really cool to hear that you actually have experience in mines with this stuff. And it's really, it's almost penny colored. It's like copper colored. And that's really cool. That's so neat. Dude, it always blows me away what kind of people watch this stream. Like, we have miners, I think former CEOs in here, people who work at SpaceX, race car drivers. It really blows me away how some of y'all have these really, really cool jobs. And also, I thank you so much for the support and sharing that with us, because that is super cool to hear that at the top layers of the mine, it looks like the salt mine in Soledar. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Jay Byrne, who does not leave a comment, but thank you very much for the support, Jay Byrne. And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Oats Air, who says, Colonel or Moomins reporting for duty. Take a question from the chat. Slava LSA and Slava Ukraine.
And I thank you so much, Colonel of the Moomins, for reporting for duty. Of course, we hand out the Colonel of the Moomin Light Brigade very heavily, and I think that it's a great thing that you are here tonight, Colonel, and that you are supporting us and helping the Lee Spring Army to keep on running. And so thank you so much once again, Colonel. Thank you so much once again for your service to the Lee Spring Army and your command of the indomitable and fearless Moomins. And so with that, we're on to the next one. And by the way, just in case y'all don't know what a Moomin is, here's a Moomin. Let me pull it up. That's a Moomin right here. So he's the colonel of the Moomin Light Brigade. So these things decked out in modern ballistic armor with a AK or an M4, depending on what you really want that thing to have. But it's a light infantry brigade. So with that, thank you so much once again for the support. Imagine that thing going to war and stomping you.
I actually like that thing. It looks pretty nice, actually.
Moomin Winter War. Let me pull that up. Oh my, they actually have little Winter War Moomin things. Wait, hang on, they don't. They don't. Oh, what the hell is that? That looks like something from a horror story.
Oh.
It looks like that.
Something the Russians would love to see.
Dude, that thing sitting there looking at those people going, "You got gum? Can I have some?" But anyways, we're on. Wait a minute! Look, it is a Moomin. It's a Moomin with a machine gun, with a finished helmet. Yep, there's a Moomin. There's the Moomin Light Brigade right there. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support, and we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Gilaman X, who says, Enforcer, who would you cast Matthew Broderick in Ukraine war movie as?
Let me see. Matthew Broderick. As Matthew.
Huh.
Huh. He still looks like you, even in this picture. He looks like you.
When I looked at it, kind of got me spooked for a minute. I was like, is that a picture of me floating around the internet?
Dude,
What's
honestly,
going on?
Man, that's why I was quiet for a second. I thought we had entered the Twilight Zone. I thought this was you like 20 or 30 years in the future, and I was like, what the hell? I totally forgot that Matthew Broderick looks exactly like Matthew, and they share the first name and everything. This picture, though, Matthew, has honestly got to be the creepiest one ever.
I don't know what's. I was about to say that too. I just didn't say it, but yeah.
Like the same part in the hair, the same haircut, the same face, everything.
Is that weird. The dude's wife over there in the red?
I think so. He doesn't really look like you now.
No, not anymore. He's getting further and further away from the truth.
But Matthew, wait a minute. If he looked like you when he was younger, is that what you're going to look like?
No, I'm not going to look like that when I'm older. No. No.
I'm going to put money on it that you will. I mean, like, you're going to age exactly like Matthew Broderick. Like, spoiled.
No, I seriously doubt that.
I think Matthew will play. I think Matthew Broderick, in his younger form, could play Enforcer Matt perfectly in a movie about the war in Ukraine. And so with that, I hope that does address the... Man, honestly, Matthew, Enforcer Matt, could play Matthew Broderick as his younger self in a movie right now. That would be really weird, too. But anyways, I hope that does address the comment fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $5 super chat from LG, who says, if Ukraine takes Crimea next, will Russia throw in the towel, or will they escalate as if Ukraine were at the gates of Moscow?
I think at that point they'll try and escalate because the port of Sevastopol is incredibly important to the Russians, but we'll just have to wait and see because considering how lackluster everything's been and without teeth a lot of their threats have been, the Ukrainians may be able to take Crimea without a real problem, without a serious issue, and without massive escalations that'll actually turn into anything. But I still think the Russians will do something in response to the Ukrainians making it into Crimea in the future. And so with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a super chat from Philip Fixes, who puts in a $5 donation and says, back from Fort Walton, before I left, I checked out the U.S. Air Force Armament Museum. It's pretty awesome. Slava Ukraine, Slava LSA, and Slava a live chat question.
And thank you so much for the support. And I have to check out this Air Force Armament Museum. I think we've been to this one, Matthew.
Zoom out.
We've been to it.
Oh, an SR-71 Blackbird.
Let me zoom out.
Where's this at?
Destiny.
Oh, yeah, we have been there.
We've been
yep,
to it. Yeah, this will be a trip down memory lane.
But they got holding that camera up above his head.
You took the picture.
He wanted that high shot.
Also, there's that death trap CH-53 Stallion. The Italian Stallion. Look, it's what the hell's that guy's name? Sylvester Stallone in helicopter form. That Moab that everyone's always got to take a picture with. Oh, it's a Moab. It's a John Deere green because he didn't have any other color paid for it. Kind of interesting.
It literally wrote Moab on the side of it. This Moab.
So in your last second of life, when you see this thing hitting the ground, you know what got you. Oh no. But anyways, F-105, really cool plane. B-57B, Canberra, pretty cool. They have some F-16s, an A-10.
Oh, A-10.
Pretty cool. I really like the F-16. B-52.
A dog.
A dog. It's a German Shepherd. Huey, or I'm sure that's the civilian version that's called something else. That thing. They also have a MiG-21 F-13. They also have a C-47 or a DC-3, depending on how you want to look at it. The SR-71. Cute Matthew going, oh, I love that thing. A P-51 and a P-80, and the first flight simulator in the world right there.
Hey, I saw Tom Scott getting that thing.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I think they're really neat. An F-89, probably the ugliest plane that we ever made. What else is there? The B-17, they have one. Not running, though. The Moab again. It's kind of a smaller museum. It's smaller as far as American museums go. Oh, look, an atomic bomb.
Next to my buddy.
The Fat Man.
See my buddy?
My buddy! Dab me up! But yes, the Fat Man. I like that thing. It's kind
is that an SR-71 or is that not? That one outside?
Oh, this is an SR-71.
O was trying to tell me it wasn't.
That is
Man,
an SR-71.
that is an SR-71.
Yeah, there's no different variants of this thing that look similar. The only thing that you can say is in the tree of the A-10 world is the A-12. 1 second. Well, let me put in right. The A-12 plane. No, that's not what we're looking for. Yeah, the A-12 is the only thing that looks similar. It's the prototype to the SR-71, and also I've got to
go back for a minute when you get done looking at this.
I've got to find the engine drone real quick that they used to test out the engine. SR-71 engine drone thing.
.O says it's YF-12. You have to look that up next.
Here we go. The D-21. That's kind of like in the SR-71 family too, because it was testing out the engine. And there's also one of these in Birmingham, Alabama, in the Southern Museum of Flight. They actually have a real one. So if you ever want to see something like an SR-71 or what led to its development, there's that thing. There's only 38 of them in the world. You can see one being attached here to an SR-71.
Pretty cool. It's like a modular engine.
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty neat. So let's scroll back up to that SR-71. Oh, well, the A-12. There you go. What about it?
Pull up the YF-12.
Okay. Oh, that thing's got a
pretty
nose.
similar.
That thing's got a nose.
Oh, that's true. Very needle-nosed, and that may or may not be. I had no idea there were so many variations of the SR-71.
There's a few. There's a few. Let me go back up to the top picture so we can get a better look at the nose section and see if it is a YF-12. Because it doesn't look like it. It's not. It actually has the, I guess you could say, flush nose cone, not the one that it has this weird, like, angular look to it. Why was this made this way? Interceptor. Interceptor prototype? What? They were going to make this thing an interceptor? Whoa.
Worked out very well. No wonder they scrapped it.
Man. Imagine if that had actually become an interceptor for bombers. Wow, man, that would have been
cool,
crazy.
but still, like, not very practical.
See, what kind of armament? It could have carried AIM-47As. I'm guessing that's what was around before the Maverick? Let's see. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, the AIM-54 Phoenix. And it is the predecessor to that. Cool. That is really cool, actually. I didn't know that. It can only carry 3 of them, though, which is kind of a little inefficient for the size of the thing and the cost of it, considering an F-14 Tomcat can carry 4 of them, or 6 of them, depending on how you lay it out. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support, and also letting us know you dropped by a museum we've actually been to. Also, the Naval Aviation Museum at Pensacola is also really one to go to. It's got to be one of the best in the country, from what I know, because it's got everything that the Navy has ever used. And really cool exhibits as well, like this conning tower of an aircraft carrier while I slam my watch into the desk and everything. Like, it's a really cool museum. Also, there's got cockpits of Blue Angel aircraft you can hop into. Anyways, with that...
In that one.
What?
I think I hopped in that one at some point in one of these museums.
Yeah, we were much smaller when we went to these museums. We have not gone to Destin, Florida in years, I do believe. But
look at that truck, or that car right there, actually.
It's a Buick.
That's different.
A little too different for me. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Diffuse56, who says, Slava LSA, I might be leaving at 12, so give my question to the chat. And Diffuse already left.
Dang it. Well, thank you so much for the support. And I hate that you had to leave at 12, but we will get a live chat. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
And the live chat question is going to go to, let's see, Christian Cruz, who comes in with the very philosophical question, who says, with the bunkers, would you guys, in case for nuclear war, go into a bunker knowing your family wouldn't be let in if your job demanded it?
It kind of depends. If it's for the necessity of the country's continuance, I would say yes, although that would be very tough to deal with. If there was really no necessity to me going into the bunker for the nation to continue on, then no, probably not. I would just decide to die. Because you see, the entire idea...
Oh, go ahead.
The entire idea of me saying that it's dependent on the nation's survival, and if my job was pertinent to that, would be to just spite the Russians if that was to happen. And that would be my entire reason for actually going and doing that. But beyond that, I wouldn't really, because I would hate to know that my family got obliterated outside a bunker and I was inside of it having to work away at a job that may or may not have any significance at all to anything. So with that, I hope that answers that question. And what were you going to
Christian, thinking outside of the box, if my job was so important that the fate of the country rested on the job, that would give me a lot of leverage. So I would demand that the family would have to be let into the bunker, or otherwise I won't complete the job. So guess what? They're going to let the family in the bunker. I'm going to do the job, and I get both. So I get best of both worlds.
Well, you weren't supposed to think outside the box, but you were supposed to answer the question.
Free thinker.
I'm not one of the sheep. Wake up, sheep!
Or whatever the hell everyone always says to everyone ever. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next.
All right, so for our final super chat, we have a $2 donation from Dupper Bob as usual. And thank you, Dupper Bob, very much for that consistent support as always. And with that, that rounds off our super chat questions, and we're moving back to our live chat questions where we have the Morse code. JP's RCs, Mark Hodges, and also C. Fay. They said Enforcer and Enforcer Matt. Morse code says, "Oh, Blyad Igor." Slava Ukraine and Slava Ukraine and Slava LSA.
Oh, Blyad Igor. And also, you did get it correct. That's literally what it said in the Morse code message. And I thank you so much for deciphering that again on the 318th day. And so with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again for doing that.
All right. And the next question goes to Mad Machine, who says, Matt, could Ukraine be trying to sucker the orcs into a trap north of the chicken tender?
Maybe. Maybe not. I don't really know. We can only look at this, and usually when people lose ground, it's never really a trap. It's just that the situation is not really evolving to their advantage, which is pretty much saying that they're not having a winning fight up there, and they're getting pushed back a little bit. But usually whenever anyone loses ground at any point in this war, there's never really a trap involved in it, and it's really hard to make a trap when you're losing ground. But with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to LZ X-Ray 67, who says, Matt, did you see the news that Erdogan has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize? Wow. And LZ X-Ray, if that is true, that is insanity.
Wowza. Wait a minute, wait a minute, hang on.
What's that music? Ding ding. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. That doesn't sound like anything.
Well, at least you laughed along anyway.
Let's see here. All right, hang on.
No prize was awarded in 1939 to anyone for peace.
No peace. No one gets peace. So actually, this is kind of a misnomer because he was nominated as a joke, and then they were like, "No one's peaceful. Screw you, people," and then they didn't give one out. So, who got Nobel Peace Prize recipients list? Let's go through here. 1901, Henry Dunant. You can always give a Nobel Peace Prize to the Swiss because you can almost be guaranteed that if they're living in Switzerland, they're not doing anything warlike. So, look, they got given to Switzerland again, got given to Passy in France. Man, that guy had some killer glasses. Let's see here. Let's find Theodore Roosevelt. Wait a minute, actually,
What's up?
What's up? Wait, we can't do that, but...
yeah, we can't do that.
He got the Nobel Peace Prize because he ended the Russo-Japanese War. He actually brokered the peace, which was actually kind of cool when you think about it. Because everyone always thinks of him as of the Great White Fleet and, kind of like trying to make America be on the world stage. But at the same time, he brokered a peace in between two major powers at the time in the East. Who else? Let's see. We're trying to find anyone of question. No one got nominated.
Wilson.
Oh yeah. For the League of Nations, they're like, "Oh, peace, here you go," and then they gave him one. Wait a minute, the Red Cross just got it, like the whole committee. Huh? Okay,
that's crazy.
Really cool. No one got awarded due to World War I. Guys, you suck. No medals. No one gets one. Let's see who else.
Christian Cruz said, "Can anyone be nominated for a Peace Prize, and can anyone nominate them for a Peace Prize?"
I don't know how it really works, to be honest with you, so I'd have to go through and read on that. But let's see. I'm getting close to World War II. Nobody got awarded in the Second World War. The Red Cross got awarded again right after the war is over. Hey, good job, guys, again. Look, they literally did it at the end of the First World War in 1917. They gave it out. Hey, good job, guys. Good job. And then at the end of, near to the end of the Second World War, in one of its last years, like they did in the First World War, good job, guys. Yeah, peace, really good. So let's see.
Quakers.
The Quakers.
Never heard about that.
Well, literally just the Quaker religion got a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm starting to notice a trend. There's actually really no one questionable on here that actually has gotten a Nobel Peace Prize. Oh, wait a minute, no. Nope. Reverse that. We got one. Let me make sure. Am I thinking of the right guy? Oh, he refused.
Ledoc.
Let's see here. Mother Teresa. Yeah, everyone knows she got one. That's not questionable much. Let's see here. The Dalai Lama. I want to be one with everything. That joke went right over that guy's head. Gorbachev. He got it in 1990. They're like, idiot, you collapsed the Soviet Union. Here's a medal. They literally gave one for that. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm not seeing anyone really who you can go, that's not really a good pick.
They start getting a little bit more weird as you scroll down.
Let's see here.
I have a feeling this is very politically motivated.
I don't know. I don't really know. I feel like if you look back in his past, it wasn't that really political motivated. Like in the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, and so on. I don't know. I'm not going to make a comment on that because making a comment on it could be political in its own way. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next question goes to Arnie YDT, who says, Enforcer, doesn't the new Abrams tank have an autoloader?
I think it does, but real quick, I got to go back because someone said Yasser Arafat was on that list. Did I skip over that? Holy moly. Yeah, I think I did. Hang on, let me... It is a little interesting. What was the reasoning that they put him on the list for? One second, let me go find that list again. Nobel Peace Prize recipients list. Let me go back and let me look at that because why in the world was that given?
I'd be curious to know who sits on the board for like awarding, like deciding who gets it and stuff like that. That'd probably tell you everything you need to know.
So wait a minute. Hang on. For their efforts to create peace in the Middle East. I don't really know a lot about this guy's history, but I feel as though if you're fighting and you're remembered as a martyr by the Palestinians and a terrorist by the other group, there's obviously nothing really peaceful about whatever you were doing to either side, because if you're a martyr, you're obviously doing something, fighting and dying for a cause, and if you're a terrorist, you're fighting against someone and doing heinous acts. So either way you're looking at that, that's not really peaceful. So I don't really know how he gets a Nobel Peace Prize for peace in the Middle East. So, you know, I don't know. It kind of seems a little weird.
When you get the Nobel Peace Prize, you get the equivalent of $900,000 and the medal and a diploma. Yeah.
So there's a cash prize to being a peaceful person?
Yeah, I'm reading on. Listen, let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Let's see. How does the Nobel Peace Prize work? And it says down here, what do they get? It says the medal, the diploma, 10 million Swedish crowns, and the equivalent of 900,000 US dollars, and immediate global attention.
Dang. So they just guarantee, like, press access. Like, everyone in the world's going to print it in the papers. It's guaranteed. But anyways, that is really weird to hear. I didn't know about that. That's bizarre. But anyways, with that, we're on.
The people that decide it are the Norwegian, let's see, let me find it again. Norwegian Nobel Committee. There's 5 people on it.
Interesting. We'll have to look.
So it's most likely very definitely politically motivated if there's only 5 people on it.
I can't make a comment. But with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. So up next, we have a question from Frequency Harmonic, who says, if a Russian attack from Belarus appears imminent, do you think Ukraine will strike the massed vehicles on the Belarusian side of the border?
Yes, they most likely will, because there won't be any point not to at that point, because the Belarusians will practically be directly involved once again, and so there's really nothing holding them back from destroying them before they even start to cross the border. So I would say yes. And so with that, it's now time for us to get on to the last question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person who threw in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Jessica W., who says, is everyone lying when they say Russia is running out of ammo?
No, they're not. They're usually on the process of running out of everything, and they're trying to find ways to either find more ammo or to make more ammo, and we are seeing they're using newly made ammunition on the front lines now. We have gotten pictures of that as proof, which is showing that they're running out of their old stores of ammunition and are having to make new ammunition to try and keep their artillery and their tanks running. So no, that is not a lie. We actually have picture proof of it. And so with that, I hope that answers that question fairly well. And also, we did not miss the Abrams question because we do think it has an autoloader in it, and that's really all there is to it. Last time I remember, that was one of the quirks and features that Doug DeMuro went over on his channel when he went and drove the Abrams X around the corner. And I'm just kidding, he didn't. But with that, it is time for us to end tonight's stream. I thank you all so much once again for watching, and if y'all did enjoy, make sure to hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit the like button as well. We've gotten 1,941 likes, which if that was a year, that would be the year that Pearl Harbor happened. That would also be the same year that the British and the Italians were fighting in North Africa and the Germans would start to arrive. That was also the same year that Glenn Miller's In the Mood became famous in pop culture forever and ever and ever, because when the December 7th announcement was made, it interrupted the song In the Mood by Glenn Miller. Anyways, I thank you all so much once again for watching. Make sure to pump up those likes. We're now in 1946. We're now creating the UN at this point, most likely. But anyways, I will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the war in Ukraine. Thank you all so much once again for watching. I hope you all have a great night. Stay safe. Take care. Good luck. And Slava Ukraini.
Yeehaw.
When you got to get yourself that Ukrainian firepower.
Yes. The Lviv Spring Army sends its regards.
Усміхнеться доля, згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці, запануємо ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького